Chapter 1865. All the patriarchs in the palace looked at the middle-aged man sitting on the highest throne. He was the sect master of the Blue Dragon sect and the person who had given the final order. He was the one who had ordered the Golden Dragon guards to capture Chu Fengmian and bring him to the Blue Dragon sect. This brat has challenged the dignity of the Blue Dragon sect. His crime is unforgivable. The sect master of the Azure Dragon sect said coldly before everyone's eyes. Men, who is willing to capture this brat and bring him to the Blue Dragon sect? Suppress him and take his spirit vein. Bring him to Jianwang city and behead him in public. This will show that the dignity of the Blue Dragon sect is not to be trifled with. This old man is willing to go. Young Master Jianwang's master was the first to speak. Me too, me too. The other progenitors voiced their thoughts too. However, as they were discussing, a huge impact suddenly enveloped the entire Blue Dragon sect. Countless palaces in the Blue Dragon sect shook violently. The great protective formation has been broken? One of the patriarchs looked up at the sky. The great protective formation that had been shrouding the Blue Dragon sect was suddenly shattered by a huge force. The great protective formation had protected the Blue Dragon sect for thousands of years and had never been broken before. Today, it had been broken. What's going on? Let's go take a look. The patriarchs in the palace turned into streaks of light and hurriedly flew out to see what was going on. What's going on? Is someone attacking the Blue Dragon sect? Who has the guts? The great protective formation has been broken. Not only the patriarchs, but all the disciples of the Blue Dragon sect were also extremely confused. For a moment, there was a commotion as many people wanted to know what was going on. On the other side, in the sky above the Blue Dragon sect, 4 figures stood in the air. Yinlongxian smiled bitterly at Chu Fengmian when she saw the broken great protective formation and the chaotic scene in the Blue Dragon sect. She already knew that with Chu Fengmian's personality, he definitely didn't come to the Blue Dragon sect to explain anything. After all, Chu Fengmian's domineering and arrogant personality had been vividly displayed when he had extracted young Lord Jianwang's dragon tendon and killed 5 golden dragon guards. Back then, Chu Fengmian had dared to extract the dragon tendons of young Master Jianwang and kill 5 golden dragon guards. This proved that Chu Fengmian had never taken the Blue Dragon sect seriously. Now that Chu Fengmian had arrived, he'd shattered the Blue Dragon sect's protective formation with a wave of his hand. Since the Blue Dragon sect became the overlord of the Blue Dragon star field, no one dared to attack the Blue Dragon sect for thousands of years. Chu Fengmian was the first person to break the Blue Dragon sect's protective array in thousands of years. Who dares to attack the Blue Dragon sect? Just as the protective mountain array was broken, a figure suddenly flew out of a palace. This figure was extremely fast. In an instant, he discovered the 4 figures standing above the Blue Dragon sect and flew over with an escape light. The figure was a young man who looked to be in his early 20s. However, his strength wasn't inferior to young Lord Jianwang's. This is young Lord Jianwang, one of the young lords of the Blue Dragon sect. Yinlongxian said from the side. Young Master Jianwang arrived in the sky with a flash of light. He looked in the direction of Chu Fengmian and the other 3, and finally, his eyes fell on Yinlongxian. Yinlongxian, what's going on? How dare you bring people to attack the Blue Dragon sect? Did you eat a bear's heart or a leopard's gall? Quickly kneel down and follow me to the main hall to explain what's going on. Young Lord Jianwang stared at Yinlongxian and said directly. What? Attacking a mere Blue Dragon sect is considered a bear's heart or a leopard's gall? The Blue Dragon sect's strength isn't great, but each of them is more arrogant than the other. Before Yinlongxian could speak, Chu Fengmian, who was next to him, said apologetically. Who are you? Young Lord Jianwang only looked at Chu Fengmian when he heard him speak. He just took a quick glance at Chu Fengmian and didn't care about him anymore. After all, Chu Fengmian was just a 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. He didn't take him seriously at all. Although he was also a 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu, the young lord of the Blue Dragon sect was an invincible existence in the same realm. Naturally, he didn't take Chu Fengmian seriously. What? The people of the Blue Dragon sect have always wanted to see me, but now you don't recognize me? Chu Fengmian sneered, sized up young Master Jianwang, and said. Get lost. Otherwise, there will be another dragon tendon in my hand. Dragon tendon? You're the one who extracted young Lord Honglong's dragon tendon? Young Lord Jianwang didn't have any impression of Chu Fengmian at first, but when he heard the words dragon tendon, he suddenly understood Chu Fengmian's identity. Among the disciples of the Blue Dragon sect, only young Lord Honglong had his dragon tendon extracted in the past thousands of years. When he heard Chu Fengmian's tone, he immediately understood that Chu Fengmian was the one who extracted young Lord Honglong's dragon tendon. Young Lord Jianwang looked at Chu Fengmian and then at Yinhuang Xian and said angrily. Yinhuang Xian, it seems that you have betrayed the Blue Dragon sect and mixed with this brat. Very well, I'll capture both of you and bring you back for trial. Boom! The moment he finished speaking, young Master Jianwang had already gathered his dragon power and suddenly attacked. As soon as he attacked, the dragon power condensed in his palm and turned into a dragon claw that was hundreds of feet long. It swept out horizontally. Almost all the martial artists and demon gods in the Blue Dragon sect cultivated Dragon Clan martial techniques. Young Lord Jianwang was no exception. When the dragon claw swept across, heaven and earth shook and had the power to destroy everything. Courting death? Just as Chu Fengmian raised his hand and was about to attack, a burst of spiritual energy suddenly burst out from beside Chu Fengmian. The old man next to Chu Fengmian threw a slap at the dragon claw. The dragon claw was shattered by the slap. What kind of technique is this? Young Lord Jianwang's face changed drastically. He didn't expect the old man beside Chu Fengmian to have such terrifying strength. This slap was not a martial skill. It was merely a simple slap, yet it had shattered the dragon claw that he had unleashed with his full strength. Junior, kneel before the young lord. Mad Dragon Emperor looked at young Lord Jianwang and said calmly. Senior, who are you? Why are you attacking the Blue Dragon sect? Young Lord Jianwang asked as he looked at Mad Dragon Emperor. He could see that Mad Dragon Emperor's strength had reached an unfathomable level. He was even stronger than the old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect. Chapter 1866. Young Master Jianwang's strength was almost on par with a weaker half-step celestial being. Of course, he couldn't defeat a half-step celestial being like Yinhuang Xian. But even so, even the old ancestor of Blue Dragon sect had to deal with his full strength. It was impossible for him to break his dragon claw with a casual strike. You're also from the Dragon Clan. Why are you helping this kid to attack Blue Dragon sect? Young Master Jianwang looked at Mad Dragon Emperor and said in a low voice. He could see that Mad Dragon Emperor was also a demon god of the Dragon Clan, and Chu Fengmian was just a human. He didn't understand why Mad Dragon Emperor would come to help Chu Fengmian. I'm just a pawn in front of young Master. Junior, you're quite talented. I don't want to suppress you. Back off. Seems like Dragon Emperor has a close relationship with Blue Dragon sect. Chu Fengmian smiled when he saw Mad Dragon Emperor's reaction. It seemed like Mad Dragon Emperor had a close relationship with Blue Dragon sect. That was why he didn't let Chu Fengmian take the initiative to attack. After all, if Chu Fengmian took action, it would set off a boundless bloody storm. Given Chu Fengmian's character, if Blue Dragon sect insisted on being his enemy, only destruction would await them. Just some relationship. If young Master gives the order, I'm willing to help young Master destroy Blue Dragon sect. Mad Dragon Emperor looked at Chu Fengmian and said calmly. That's not necessary. Chu Fengmian said casually. He could see that both the Mad Dragon Emperor and Yinhuang Xian had an extremely close relationship with the Blue Dragon sect. Chu Fengmian wouldn't do such a ruthless thing. Where did these two people come from? They want to destroy Blue Dragon sect? Young Master Jianwang was sweating profusely when he heard the conversation between Chu Fengmian and Mad Dragon Emperor. He could tell that Chu Fengmian and Mad Dragon Emperor weren't bluffing. Chu Fengmian didn't take action. If Mad Dragon Emperor really took action, even if Blue Dragon sect wasn't destroyed, more than half of its old ancestors would die. At that time, Blue Dragon sect would only exist in name. What's going on? Whoosh! As young Master Jianwang was lost for words, several light rays suddenly flew toward them. They were the progenitors of the Blue Dragon sect. As the progenitors arrived, wisps of overwhelming dragon auras gathered in the sky and loomed over Chu Fengmian and the others. Break! Chu Fengmian felt the draconic might that enveloped him, and a hint of disdain appeared at the corner of his mouth as he shouted the word break. The dragons roared, and the draconic might that shrouded Chu Fengmian shattered with a loud bang. Jianwang 8 tones? The patriarchs of the Blue Dragon sect looked at Chu Fengmian with flickering eyes. Little bastard, you're the one who pulled out Hanwang's dragon tendon? You dare to come to the Blue Dragon sect? Looks like you're courting death. One of the old ancestors looked at Chu Fengmian. His tone was filled with boundless anger, and the killing intent in his eyes was undisguised. Who is he? Chu Fengmian didn't even bother to look at the old ancestor. Instead, he turned his head and asked Jianwang Xian. He's young Lord Hanwang's master, Hanwang King. In the primordial times, among the ancient war dragon clan, the half-step celestial being realm dragons could only be called Dragon King. As for Dragon Emperor, only those dragons who had ascended to immortality and stepped into the celestial being realm were qualified to be called Dragon Emperor. In the Azure Dragon Star area, this ancient rule was inherited. All the ancestors of the dragon tribe who were half a step away from the celestial being realm were called Dragon Kings. Of course, Mad Dragon Emperor was an exception. Although he was only a half-step celestial realm expert, his strength wasn't inferior to a true celestial realm expert. He could also be called Dragon Emperor. But now, Mad Dragon Emperor had passed the celestial tribulation and was a true Dragon Emperor. Young Lord Hanwang's master? No wonder you're as arrogant as that trash. You don't have much strength, but you're just as arrogant. Chu Fengmian looked at Hanwang King and said disdainfully. Little bastard, what did you say? Hanwang King was furious when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. Young master, Mad Dragon Emperor wanted to say something, as if he was going to attack, but he was stopped by Chu Fengmian. Forget it. I'll deal with this person myself. Hanwang King, right? Well, I'll pull out your dragon tendon today so that you can accompany your disciple. Chu Fengmian took a step forward and said with a cold look in his eyes. Chu Fengmian could spare young Lord Jianwang's life, but this Hanwang King dared to insult Chu Fengmian. This Hanwang King must be a dead man. Mad Dragon Emperor sighed when he saw Chu Fengmian attack. After all, he had a close relationship with the Blue Dragon sect and didn't want any casualties. But when he saw Chu Fengmian taking the initiative to attack, he knew that it wasn't something he could stop. Previously, Chu Fengmian had tacitly agreed to let him take action. This was already giving him enough face. This time, he had no reason to stop Chu Fengmian. What a joke! You want to pull out my dragon tendon? This old man would like to see what you're capable of. How dare you speak such big words? Die! Evil dragon descends into the sea. Hanwang King roared furiously when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. His body swelled up in the air and turned into a huge evil dragon. It was filled with destructive power and bombarded Chu Fengmian. The two enormous dragon claws blasted toward Chu Fengmian in an earth-shattering manner. Evil Dragon Martial Technique. It's one of the most mysterious martial techniques in our Blue Dragon sect. It's said to be the most powerful martial technique. It's mainly used for killing. Looks like Hanwang King is really angry. He wants to take this kid's life. Some old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect looked at the battle with flickering eyes. Chu Fengmian's strength was simply godlike from the description of the Lord of Mirage Dragon City, but they didn't believe it. After all, Chu Fengmian was just a Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu. They were all promoted from the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu. Naturally, they didn't believe that a Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu could be so powerful. The two huge evil dragon claws in the sky grabbed towards Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian's body stood there, not moving at all. He's not moving at all. Could it be that this kid hasn't reacted yet? I was wondering how powerful this kid was. It turns out that he's only this kind of trash. Looking at Chu Fengmian's action, several old ancestors said with disdain. Die, kid. Han Long King's face was filled with ferocity when he saw Chu Fengmian not moving. He wanted to kill him to avenge young Master Han Long. However, when the two evil dragon claws bombarded Chu Fengmian's body, a layer of brilliance was emitted from Chu Fengmian's body. A diamond-shaped crystal emerged from Chu Fengmian's body and turned into a barrier. Chapter 1867. The barrier formed by the rhombus-shaped crystals seemed to be a thin layer. However, when the two claws of the evil dragon landed on it, they couldn't even shake the barrier formed by the rhombus-shaped crystals in the slightest. This scene stunned everyone. Han Long King was a half-step celestial being demon immortal. Even if he was not the most powerful great ancestor in the Blue Dragon sect, he was at least above average. Now, even with his full force, the claws of the evil dragon could not move the thin layer of rhombus-shaped crystals. Yinlongxian and the Princess of the Sea were also stunned. They were Emperor Gu of the Nine Tribulations, but they could not see the mystery behind it. Among the crowd, only the Berserk Dragon Monarch wore an astounded expression all of a sudden. Immortal real body. A fully condensed immortal real body? Of course, he had heard of the immortal real body. For all the demon immortals who wanted to break through to the celestial being realm, there was a choice, and that was whether to condense the immortal real body when they were half-step celestial being realm. Once they condensed the immortal real body when they were half-step celestial being realm, they would gain amazing benefits when they stepped into the celestial being realm. Mad Dragon Emperor had attracted the celestial being tribulation when he recovered from his injuries, so he naturally did not have the chance to condense the immortal real body. However, he had heard of the legend of the immortal real body. Among the countless celestial being realm experts, there were very few who could condense the immortal real body. And those who could condense the immortal real body when they were half-step celestial being realm were even rarer. Those who could condense the embryonic form of the immortal real body when they were half-step celestial being realm were considered peerless geniuses. However, Chu Fengmian had a complete immortal real body, and those rhombus-shaped crystals were flesh and blood crystals. Chu Fengmian did not attack, but chose to resist the two claws of the evil dragon with his body. He wanted to see how strong his body was. Not bad. Chu Fengmian's lips curled into a smile. He was referring to the immortal real body. With Chu Fengmian's current immortal real body, ordinary half-step celestial being realm martial artists and demon gods would not be able to hurt Chu Fengmian unless they used their killing moves. Is that all you have? Chu Fengmian looked at the Han Long King and said in a casual manner. Looks like I'll have another dragon tendon in my hands. The moment Chu Fengmian looked over, Han Long King took a few steps back. Especially when he heard the words dragon tendon, he felt a chill run down his spine. He did not want to have his dragon tendons extracted. Once his dragon tendons were extracted, he would be no different from a cripple. Falling from the high and mighty old ancestor of the Blue Dragon sect to a cripple, anyone would go crazy. Damn it. Let's attack together and kill him. Han Long King let out a long roar. He no longer cared about his face and shouted loudly. He no longer wanted to kill Chu Fengmian one-on-one. This was the Blue Dragon sect, his home base. He wanted to borrow the power of the Blue Dragon sect to kill Chu Fengmian. In the sky, an incomparably huge killing array suddenly appeared. This killing array contained the ancient power of the dragon, as well as endless killing weapons. There were dozens of figures standing in the killing formation. Each of them was a peak demon god of the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu. Thousand Dragons Destroyer Array. The moment Yinlongxian saw the killing array appear, his entire body trembled for a moment. This was the most powerful killing array in the Blue Dragon sect, the Thousand Dragons Destroyer Array. Its true power was enough to slay immortals. Yinlongxian couldn't help but exclaim when he saw the figures within the killing array. Golden Dragon Guards. 58 Golden Dragon Guards, come out. Up till now, the Blue Dragon sect had only cultivated 63 Golden Dragon Guards. Last time, they used 5 golden dragon guards to capture Chu Fengmian. Those 5 golden dragon guards were killed by Chu Fengmian in the end. This time, the remaining 58 golden dragon guards were all deployed to form the 1,000 Dragons Destroyer Array. 3 golden dragon guards were said to be able to fight against a half-step celestial being. 5 golden dragon guards were said to be able to kill a half-step celestial being. Now, the 58 golden dragon guards had gathered their strength to form the 1,000 Dragons Destroyer Array. It was definitely a supreme killing array that could kill everything. Even though Yin Longxian knew that Chu Fengmian's strength was unfathomable, he was still worried about him. 58 golden dragon guards have come out. This is the first time in thousands of years that so many golden dragon guards have been deployed. Looks like the sect master is determined to kill him. Otherwise, Han Long King alone would not be able to command so many golden dragon guards. Some disciples of the Blue Dragon sect muttered to themselves. The golden dragon guards were the trump card of the Blue Dragon sect. They were the strongest force of the Blue Dragon sect. Only the sect master of the Blue Dragon sect was qualified to command them. The appearance of the golden dragon guards meant that the sect master of the Blue Dragon sect was determined to kill Chu Fengmian. The 1,000 Dragons Destroyer Array formed by the 58 golden dragon guards shrouded the sky. Many disciples of the Blue Dragon sect knew that they were not the target of the 1,000 Dragons Destroyer Array, but they still felt their bodies trembling. Some of the weaker disciples of the Blue Dragon sect knelt on the ground. They did not even have the courage to stand up. The aura of the 1,000 Dragons Destroyer Array alone was enough to suppress countless of them. Kill! Han Long King attacked together with the 1,000 Dragons Destroyer Array. The two forces blasted towards Chu Fengmian at the same time. All the forces turned into a giant dragon claw on the 1,000 Dragons Destroyer Array and blasted towards Chu Fengmian. Sword out! Chu Fengmian looked coldly at the dragon claw. Sword radiance flickered in his palm as the ancestral dragon supreme sword was unsheathed. Shocking sword will and dragon force were infused into the ancestral dragon supreme sword. When the giant dragon claw came down, Chu Fengmian's sword also soared into the sky. The shocking sword radiance was 10,000 feet long. It swept across the entire sky and pierced through the 9 heavens. Vaguely, the shadow of a dragon emerged from the sword light. The 6th move of the primogenitor was contained in the sword radiance. The 6th move of the primogenitor was the limit of Chu Fengmian's comprehension. Facing the 1,000 Dragons Destroyer Array, Chu Fengmian did not dare to be careless. Boom! Wherever the sword radiance passed, it was sliced apart. The dragon claw was also sliced apart by the sword radiance. After breaking the dragon claw, the sword light continued to slash towards the 10,000 Dragons Immortal Destroyer Array. Bang! Bang! Countless cracks appeared on the 10,000 Dragons Immortal Slaying formation under the attack of the sword. The golden dragon guards fell from the sky one after another. Each of them was injured by the sword radiance. Chapter 1868. The Dragon Immortal Slaying formation is broken. The progenitors and disciples of the Blue Dragon sect were stunned. They stared at the scene with blank faces. The Dragon Immortal Slaying formation formed by 58 golden dragon guards was powerful enough to kill everything. The half-step celestial realm patriarchs of the Blue Dragon sect felt that they were like ants in front of the 10,000 Dragon Immortal Destroyer formation. They were not worth mentioning. But now, it was completely destroyed by Chu Fengmian's sword light. The 58 golden dragon guards suffered heavy casualties. What was more shocking was not the fact that the Dragon Immortal Slaying formation was broken, but the mystery of Chu Fengmian's sword light. The 6th move of the primogenitor? Impossible. This is the mystery of the 6th move of the primogenitor. The 6th move of the primogenitor. Even a celestial realm dragon might not be able to use it. The Blue Dragon sect's patriarchs could see that Chu Fengmian's sword light contained the power of the 6th move of the primogenitor. There was no complete record of the 6th move of the primogenitor in the ancient records of the Blue Dragon sect. How can this person know the 6th move of the primogenitor? This person is hiding a secret. Boom! A powerful dragon aura suddenly descended. Junior, hand over the sixth move of the primogenitor. Along with the powerful dragon might, the figure of a middle-aged man descended. This middle-aged man was filled with boundless dignity. Every word that he spoke was like an order, and no one was allowed to go against it. Sect Master. The Sect Master is here. Seeing the middle-aged man's arrival, the patriarchs of the Blue Dragon sect finally had a backbone. The tension in their hearts also calmed down a lot as they stared at Chu Fengmian. Hand over the sixth move of the primogenitor and kneel down to apologize. Then, I'll let you off. The sect master stared at Chu Fengmian and said coldly. Kneel down. The other patriarchs of the Blue Dragon sect activated their dragon aura at this moment. There were 31 half-step celestial realm patriarchs in the Blue Dragon sect. This time, it could be said that the entire Blue Dragon sect had gone all out to deal with Chu Fengmian alone. The dragon might of 31 half-step celestial being realm old ancestors pressed down on Chu Fengmian. Any other half-step celestial being realm martial artist would be suppressed by the dragon might and unable to resist. But for Chu Fengmian, not to mention 31 half-step celestial realm patriarchs, even if there were 310 of them, they would not pose any threat to him. This dragon might couldn't affect Chu Fengmian at all. Chu Fengmian was a mutant of heaven and earth, who controlled the origin of dragons. It could be said that he was like the ancestor of all dragons. In terms of bloodline, these half-step celestial being realm great ancestors were much weaker than Chu Fengmian. No matter how powerful the dragon might was, it couldn't affect Chu Fengmian in the slightest. Many people? A bunch of useless chickens and pottery dogs dare to threaten me? Chu Fengmian laughed out loud. Just as everyone was looking at him in disbelief, Chu Fengmian suddenly took a step forward and grabbed at Han Long King with his palm. Chu Fengmian's sudden attack was beyond everyone's expectation. In the face of such a powerful dragon might, no matter how strong Chu Fengmian was, he should be suppressed. But now, this dragon might couldn't affect Chu Fengmian at all. Chu Fengmian was like taking a stroll in the park. He suddenly attacked, turning into a war dragon claw and grabbed at Han Long King. This made everyone unable to react in time. Asterisk boom. Asterisk Han Long King's face was filled with fear when he saw Chu Fengmian's sudden attack. He didn't want Chu Fengmian to pull out his dragon tendons and turn him into a cripple. At this moment, Han Long King also unleashed all of his trump cards, exerting all of his strength in an attempt to dodge the war dragon claw. But even so, it was simply wishful thinking for him to contend against Chu Fengmian with his current strength. Chu Fengmian's war dragon claw broke through the layers of defense on his body and directly grabbed Han Long King in the palm of his hand, bringing him to Chu Fengmian. Kneel down. Asterisk bang. Asterisk a dragon might burst out from Chu Fengmian's body, pressing down on Han Long King's body. Han Long King couldn't resist and knelt down in front of Chu Fengmian. A half-step celestial being realm demon immortal, an old ancestor of Blue Dragon sect, was now suppressed by Chu Fengmian and forced to kneel down in front of Chu Fengmian like a prisoner. This made all the disciples of Blue Dragon sect a little dumbfounded. This was the Blue Dragon sect, and now all the experts of Blue Dragon sect had come out. And Chu Fengmian directly grabbed Han Long King in front of countless old ancestors and experts of Blue Dragon sect, forcing him to kneel down in front of him. This boundless domineering aura was as if the entire Blue Dragon sect was nothing in Chu Fengmian's eyes. It just so happens that I'm lacking a few dragon tendons. Give me your dragon tendons. Chu Fengmian looked at Han Long King who was kneeling in front of him and revealed a cold smile. Suddenly, he grabbed at Han Long King with his palm. He wanted to pull out Han Long King's dragon tendons in front of countless old ancestors of Blue Dragon sect. Impudent. Little bastard, prepare to die. The other old ancestors of Blue Dragon sect were enraged when they saw this scene and attacked one after another. No matter what, they couldn't let Chu Fengmian pull out Han Long King's dragon tendons in front of countless Blue Dragon sect disciples. A total of 31 half-step celestial being realm demon immortals of Blue Dragon sect attacked at the same time without exception. When the mighty dragon power gathered together, it was enough to sweep away everything. Only the sound of dragon roars could be heard in the entire sky. In anyone's opinion, such an attack was almost unstoppable. The combined power of the 31 half-step celestial being realm demon immortals had reached an unimaginable level. All the power converged into a beam of divine light and blasted toward Chu Fengmian with a loud rumble. This kid is doomed. 31 half-step celestial being realm demon immortals. Our blue dragon sect hasn't seen so many old ancestors joining forces for many years. One by one, the blue dragon sect disciples raised their heads and looked at the sky. When they saw the divine light, their bodies trembled. In front of this divine light, there seemed to be no power that could resist it. No matter how strong Chu Fengmian was, there was only one road left for him. Will it be me or you? However, Chu Fengmian's expression was the calmest among all. When he looked at the divine light, there was no change in his expression. The corner of his mouth even revealed a faint smile. Chapter 1869. There's no need to trouble young master. An old voice suddenly sounded, and in the next moment, a dragon claw suddenly fell from the sky. The dragon claw was over 100 Jianwang. It appeared in the blink of an eye without making any noise. It collided with the beam of light in the blink of an eye. Rumble! There was a huge roar, and countless spiritual energies exploded wildly. The power of the collision shook the entire Blue Dragon sect, and the entire Blue Dragon continent. In the next moment, the divine light, which was produced by 31 half-step celestial realm demon gods, collided with the dragon claw, but it was suppressed by the dragon claw. Bang! In the next moment, the dragon claw suddenly tightened its grip, and the divine light was forcibly shattered. Everyone was stunned when they saw the crushed divine light, and they were speechless for a long time. Many of them were still blinking their eyes, unable to believe what they had just seen. Many of them felt that they were still dreaming. The divine light, which had just been condensed, was simply going to sweep everything away. No one could stop it. It was a bombardment produced by 31 half-step celestial realm demon gods. If the target of the bombardment was the Blue Dragon sect, the entire sect would be flattened. It had the power to destroy the world. Yet, at that moment, it was actually crushed by the dragon claw that had appeared all of a sudden. The strength of the owner of this dragon claw was something that no one dared to imagine. 31 half-step celestial realm demon gods could easily resist it. There was only one possibility. Celestial realm. Only those in the celestial realm, those who had ascended to immortality, could achieve such a feat. Senior, who are you? Why are you helping this kid? The sect master of the Blue Dragon sect looked at the old man beside Chu Fengmian, sweating profusely. He had already seen that the dragon claw just now was produced by this unknown old man beside Chu Fengmian. Celestial realm, the real celestial realm. They never dreamed that there was a real celestial realm expert beside Chu Fengmian. In the entire Azure Dragon continent, there had never been a heaven realm powerhouse. The Mad Dragon Emperor could be said to be the only heaven realm powerhouse in the Azure Dragon continent for several thousand years. Just a nameless person. But on account of our past friendship, let me remind you. If you continue to be enemies with the young master, today will be the day of the Blue Dragon sect's destruction. The Mad Dragon Emperor looked at the ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect and said calmly, "Young master?" Countless Blue Dragon sect patriarchs were terrified when they heard how the Mad Dragon Emperor addressed Chu Fengmian. They had just seen that this Mad Dragon Emperor was a true heaven realm ranker, but they still had some thoughts in their hearts. This Mad Dragon Emperor was only a helper that Chu Fengmian had invited, and was only here to protect Chu Fengmian. However, by addressing Chu Fengmian as young master, the Mad Dragon Emperor had already placed his status below Chu Fengmian's. A true elite of the celestial realm was willing to serve others. This caused the Blue Dragon sect's old ancestors to shudder in fear. This was especially true for the words of the Mad Dragon Emperor. Although the words of the Mad Dragon Emperor were incomparably arrogant, in their ears, there was only fear. If Chu Fengmian gave the order now, it would be extremely easy for the Mad Dragon Emperor to destroy the Blue Dragon sect without Chu Fengmian taking action. A true elite of the celestial realm was enough to wipe out the Blue Dragon sect. None of the half-step celestial realm demon gods present could withstand more than a few moves from him. What should we do? For a moment, all the Blue Dragon sect's old ancestors looked at each other. In order to deal with Chu Fengmian, they had already used all their trump cards. 32 half-step celestial realm demon gods had all come out to deal with Chu Fengmian. This was already a thorough preparation. However, they had never dreamed that there would be a true elite of the celestial realm by Chu Fengmian's side. If they continued to fight with Chu Fengmian, the Mad Dragon Emperor alone could wipe them out. In this moment of silence, an incomparably ancient ancestor suddenly looked at the Mad Dragon Emperor and said in a trembling voice, "Mad Dragon Emperor? You are the Mad Dragon Emperor?" The patriarch's voice was trembling and filled with disbelief and shock. "Mad Dragon Emperor? The most dazzling genius of our Blue Dragon sect 40,000 years ago, the Mad Dragon Emperor?" Boom! The moment they heard the three words Mad Dragon Emperor, everyone in the Blue Dragon sect was shocked. Countless pairs of eyes looked at the Mad Dragon Emperor who was standing beside Chu Fengmian. Although the Mad Dragon Emperor was a figure from 40,000 years ago, his name reverberated like thunder in the ears of the Blue Dragon sect. Even the disciples who had just joined the sect had heard of his name. In the Blue Dragon sect, the Mad Dragon Emperor's name represented a legend. He was the most monstrous disciple in the history of the Blue Dragon sect. In that era, everyone thought that the Mad Dragon Emperor would definitely step into the celestial realm in the future. However, in the end, the Mad Dragon Emperor chose a path that defied the heavens. It was rumored that the Mad Dragon Emperor finally died under the heaven-defying tribulation. The most dazzling genius in the history of the Blue Dragon sect had fallen just like that. However, the old man beside Chu Fengmian was the Mad Dragon Emperor? Mad Dragon Emperor? How is that possible? The Mad Dragon Emperor has already died under the heaven-defying tribulation. How could he still be alive? Some of the old ancestors said in disbelief. Mad Dragon Emperor, he's definitely the Mad Dragon Emperor. That ancient old ancestor stared at the Mad Dragon Emperor and said firmly. He and the Mad Dragon Emperor were from the same era. The moment he saw the Mad Dragon Emperor's attack, he immediately recognized the Mad Dragon Emperor's identity. In that era, the Mad Dragon Emperor's figure was remembered by all the geniuses of that era. Such a monstrous genius was in existence that everyone yearned to meet. Even after 40,000 years, the old ancestor could still recognize the Mad Dragon Emperor at a glance. The Mad Dragon Emperor did not say anything after hearing the old ancestor's words. He did not explain anything. In the eyes of countless people, the Mad Dragon Emperor had already acknowledged his identity. This is the Mad Dragon Emperor? The most dazzling genius of our Blue Dragon sect. Celestial Realm. Sure enough, the Mad Dragon Emperor has stepped into the Celestial Realm. But why would the Mad Dragon Emperor help this kid to attack our Blue Dragon sect? Suddenly, a doubt appeared in the minds of countless people. The Mad Dragon Emperor was from the Blue Dragon sect, but now he was on Chu Fengmian's side. Mad Dragon Emperor, why are you helping this kid? The sect master of the Blue Dragon sect looked at the Mad Dragon Emperor and asked. This old man is just a lackey of the young master. As for the Mad Dragon Emperor, he has already fallen. Chapter 1870. The Mad Dragon Emperor's words meant that he wanted to make a decision with the Blue Dragon sect. He had promised Chu Fengmian that he would work for him. Naturally, he wouldn't go back on his words. Hearing this, the old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect fell silent. They thought that they could stop the Mad Dragon Emperor. But now, the Mad Dragon Emperor meant that as long as Chu Fengmian was willing, he would destroy the Blue Dragon sect. The life and death of the entire Blue Dragon sect was in Chu Fengmian's hands. All eyes were fixed on Chu Fengmian. For a moment, there was silence. Now that there's no one in the way, we can continue. Chu Fengmian did not care about the old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect. His eyes fell on the Han Dragon King who was kneeling on the ground. Since Chu Fengmian said that he would extract the tendon of the Han Dragon King, he would do it. Chu Fengmian waved his hand and covered the body of the Han Dragon King. Suddenly, a golden light flew out from the body of the Han Dragon King. It was the Han Dragon King's tendon. Mad Dragon Emperor, save me! The Han Dragon King looked at the Mad Dragon Emperor and shouted. However, the Mad Dragon Emperor remained unmoved no matter how hard he tried. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk this sword light was extracted from the body of the Han Dragon King. Instantly, the Han Dragon King lost all his strength and fell to the ground. A dragon whose tendon was extracted was the same as a martial artist whose spiritual vein was destroyed. From now on, the Han Dragon King was a piece of trash. A half-step celestial being from the dragon race had his tendon extracted and turned into a piece of trash. No one could accept such a huge difference. Someone, take him away. Chu Fengmian said casually. He was not going to kill the Han Dragon King. To the Han Dragon King, extracting his tendon and crippling him would be more painful than killing him. An old ancestor of the Blue Dragon sect gave a signal with his eyes. A few disciples of the Blue Dragon sect hurried over and brought the Han Dragon King away. The old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect could only watch helplessly as the Han Long King was crippled. None of them dared to stop him. What should we do? Why is the Mad Dragon Emperor on this kid's side? It's not easy now. We're not a match for the Mad Dragon Emperor even if we join forces. Are we going to give in? This is the only thing we can do. Let's give in to this brat first. I don't believe that the Mad Dragon Emperor can guard him all the time. As long as the Mad Dragon Emperor is not around, we can kill this brat, a mere 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu, if we want to. That's right. Let's feign civility with this brat first. This brat dares to make our Blue Dragon sect suffer such a huge loss. If we don't kill him, it won't be enough to wash away the shame. Streams of spiritual awareness were quietly conversing. In the end, it was the Azure Dragon sect's sect master who spoke first. Young Master Chu, it's the Blue Dragon sect's fault this time. I apologize to you right here. Apologize? Is that so? Then you have to act like you're apologizing. Chu Fengmian looked at the sect master of the Blue Dragon sect and said coldly. The conversation between the old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect through their spiritual senses was flawless, but Chu Fengmian heard it all. At this point, the old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect still wanted to take revenge on Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian originally wanted to let these old ancestors off for the sake of the Mad Dragon Emperor and Yin Wangxian, but now it seemed that they were courting death. Kneel! Chu Fengmian stared at the sect master of the Blue Dragon sect and said coldly. Since you want to apologize, then kneel down. What did you say? Brat, don't go too far. We're giving you some face. Don't push your luck. The old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect hurriedly stepped forward and reprimanded Chu Fengmian. Too far? Push your luck? You're just a few good-for-nothings. How dare you scold me so loudly? Mad Dragon Emperor, bring them here and kneel. Chu Fengmian looked coldly at the old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect and said coldly. These old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect were the ones who still wanted to take revenge on Chu Fengmian. Yes. The Mad Dragon Emperor didn't hesitate to attack when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. He waved his hand, which suddenly turned into a dragon claw and grabbed at the old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect. No one could stop the Mad Dragon Emperor from attacking with the might of a heavenly being. The 3 old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect didn't even have time to resist before they were enveloped by the spiritual energy of the Mad Dragon Emperor and caught in the palm of his hand. In the next moment, the 3 old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect were brought to Chu Fengmian. Under the suppression of spiritual energy, the 3 old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect immediately knelt in front of Chu Fengmian. The old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect were shocked by this scene, but none of them dared to reprimand Chu Fengmian. Now that the Mad Dragon Emperor, a true heavenly being, was standing in front of Chu Fengmian, they were no match for him even if they all attacked together. As long as Chu Fengmian gave the order, they would die. Even if he didn't kill them, it would be a great humiliation for them to kneel in front of Chu Fengmian. Now, the old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect were incomparably angry, but none of them dared to speak. What? No one wants to speak? Chu Fengmian smiled. He looked at the old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect and condensed his spiritual energy, which suddenly turned into a tall throne. Chu Fengmian sat on the throne and looked at the old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect with a playful expression. This time, it's our fault. Young Master Chu, if you have any conditions, please state them. The old ancestor looked at Chu Fengmian and said. His tone was incomparably respectful, and he no longer had the arrogance of the old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect. It seems that there are still some sensible people in the Blue Dragon sect. Chu Fengmian heard the old ancestor's words and said with a smile. Chu Fengmian didn't come to the Blue Dragon sect this time to destroy the Blue Dragon sect. If he wanted to destroy the Blue Dragon sect, he didn't need to go through such trouble. After all, the Blue Dragon sect was the sect of the Mad Dragon Emperor and Jianwang Xian. Chu Fengmian didn't want to destroy the Blue Dragon sect. What he wanted was the Blue Dragon sect's submission. Of course, before that, Chu Fengmian still had to kill those who were his enemies. Young Master Chu, if you have any conditions, please state them. The old ancestor relaxed when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. Since Chu Fengmian's purpose this time wasn't to destroy the Blue Dragon sect, everything could still be discussed. Although the Blue Dragon sect was a behemoth that ruled the Blue Dragon continent, it was nothing in front of Chu Fengmian today. Chapter 1871. First, I want immortal stones. Give me all the immortal stones the Blue Dragon sect has. Chu Fengmian glanced at the patriarch and said calmly. Chu Fengmian had come to attack the Blue Dragon sect not only to solve the problem, but also for the immortal stones. The Azure Dragon Starfield was far more prosperous than the Yama Starfield. The Azure Dragon sect was a colossus in the Azure Dragon Starfield. It had ruled the Azure Dragon Starfield for thousands of years, so it must have accumulated a lot of immortal stones. If Chu Fengmian wanted to break through the bottleneck of the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu and step into the half-step celestial realm, he needed a lot of immortal stones. Of course, he wouldn't let go of this opportunity to obtain immortal stones. Immortal stones, the patriarch frowned slightly at Chu Fengmian's words. Although he had guessed that Chu Fengmian's conditions wouldn't be ordinary, immortal stones were extremely important to any sect. Immortal stones were extremely useful for breaking through to the next realm. For example, if there were enough immortal stones, Jianwang Xian wouldn't be stuck in the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu's realm and would directly step into the half-step celestial realm. No matter which starfield one was in, immortal stones were priceless treasures. It wasn't easy to get one. However, the old man also understood that they didn't have the power to refuse Chu Fengmian today. If they didn't hand over the stones, Chu Fengmian could order the Mad Dragon Emperor to destroy the Blue Dragon sect. The sect's wealth would also fall into Chu Fengmian's hands. Please wait a moment, Sir Chu. The patriarch gave a look, and a Blue Dragon sect disciple next to him left in a flash. Not long after, the Blue Dragon sect disciple returned with an empty ring in his hand. The patriarch took the ring and handed it to Chu Fengmian. These are the immortal stones our Blue Dragon sect has accumulated. I'm giving them all to you, Sir Chu. Chu Fengmian took the ring and infused it with spiritual power. He glanced at it and frowned. So little? There were about 300 immortal stones in the ring. Even though this number seemed to be quite a lot, it was the entire Blue Dragon sect's savings, and there were only 300 of them. Jianwang Xian alone could collect more than 100 immortal stones, but the entire Blue Dragon sect only had 300. These are indeed all the immortal stones we have. The patriarch smiled wryly at Chu Fengmian's expression. Our Blue Dragon sect is a big sect and has consumed a lot of immortal stones. These are all we have. Very well. Chu Fengmian glanced at the ancestor's expression and knew he wasn't lying. Indeed, although the Blue Dragon sect was a colossus, there were also countless disciples and the amount of resources they consumed every day was also a huge number. For treasures like immortal stones, the Blue Dragon sect didn't have much of them. It was a pleasant surprise for Chu Fengmian to be able to obtain immortal stones from the Blue Dragon sect. He wasn't picky. Chu Fengmian put all the celestial stones in the spatial ring into his own spatial ring. Then, he glanced at the crowd and his gaze landed on the sect leader of the Blue Dragon sect. Also, the Blue Dragon sect needs a new master. Chu Fengmian's words caused an uproar. The gazes of the ancestors who had relaxed became tense again. Young Master Chu, what do you mean? The ancestor who had negotiated with Chu Fengmian earlier couldn't help but ask. Nothing much. It's just that the Blue Dragon sect has been causing trouble for me time and time again. The mastermind must die. The Blue Dragon sect had dealt with Chu Fengmian time and time again. It wasn't just the actions of the Han Dragon King alone, especially the Golden Dragon Guards. Only the sect master of the Blue Dragon sect had the right to use them. Previously, 58 Golden Dragon Guards had set up a formation to deal with Chu Fengmian. Only the master of the Blue Dragon sect could give the order. Chu Fengmian could spare the other Blue Dragon sect patriarchs this time, but he had to kill the Blue Dragon sect master. Chu Fengmian said indifferently. He looked at the sect master of the Blue Dragon sect. Tell me, do you want to kill yourself, or do you want me to do it? Chu Fengmian looked at the Azure Dragon sect master as though he was looking at a dead man. You! The sect master of the Blue Dragon sect did not expect Chu Fengmian to suddenly attack him. He thought that he could be the scapegoat after crippling the Han Dragon King. But now, Chu Fengmian had his eyes on him. Kid, don't be ungrateful. Do you think that the Blue Dragon sect is really afraid of you? We just respect the Mad Dragon Emperor and don't want to be your enemy. Don't go too far. At this point, the Blue Dragon sect's sect master was ready to go all out. He looked at the Mad Dragon Emperor and said, Mad Dragon Emperor, are you really going to watch this kid act presumptuously? Kill him. Chu Fengmian was too lazy to talk nonsense with the sect master of the Blue Dragon sect. The Mad Dragon Emperor, who was standing beside Chu Fengmian, made his move without hesitation. He waved his hand and the sect master of the Blue Dragon sect was caught in his palm. There was a loud bang. The sect master of the Blue Dragon sect was crushed to death in the Mad Dragon Emperor's hand. He turned into a cloud of blood mist and floated in the air. Chu Fengmian used the sky-devouring secret technique and completely devoured the blood mist. There was no chance for the sect master of the Blue Dragon sect to come back to life. The scene made the old ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect feel incomparably cold. The sect master of the Blue Dragon sect was the strongest among the old ancestors of the half-step celestial realm. But he was still vulnerable in front of the Mad Dragon Emperor. Chu Fengmian only needed to say a word to kill the sect master of the Blue Dragon sect. They looked at Chu Fengmian with eyes full of fear. They no longer wanted to be enemies with Chu Fengmian. They didn't want to end up dead and their Dao perishing. Alright, Dragon Emperor, don't worry. I only killed a few of the culprits in the Blue Dragon sect. Since the culprits have been eliminated, I won't do anything else. Chu Fengmian looked at the Mad Dragon Emperor and said with a smile. Although the Mad Dragon Emperor did not say anything, he was still a little nervous. He was really afraid that Chu Fengmian would destroy the Blue Dragon sect today. But after killing the sect master of the Blue Dragon sect, Chu Fengmian did not want to do anything. Hearing this, the Mad Dragon Emperor breathed a sigh of relief. After all, he was from the Blue Dragon sect and did not want to see the Blue Dragon sect destroyed. Thank you, young master. The Mad Dragon Emperor could not help but say. He could see that Chu Fengmian was still showing mercy this time. It was for him and Jianwang. Let's go. Dragon Emperor, take me to the Blue Dragon sect. Chu Fengmian said casually. Young master, please. Chapter 1872. In the Blue Dragon sect, the Mad Dragon Emperor brought Chu Fengmian around. Jianwang and the Princess of the Sea followed behind them without saying a word. All the disciples of the Blue Dragon sect had witnessed what had just happened. They knew that the Mad Dragon Emperor was someone who could easily crush the sect master of the Blue Dragon sect. Seeing Chu Fengmian and the Mad Dragon Emperor coming over, all the disciples of the Blue Dragon sect hurriedly avoided them. However, no one dared to stop the two of them. All the patriarchs of the Blue Dragon sect ignored them and allowed them to tour the Blue Dragon sect. At this time, none of the ancestors dared to provoke Chu Fengmian. They were already very lucky that Chu Fengmian didn't touch them. Naturally, they didn't dare to provoke him. Along the way, Chu Fengmian was unimpeded. Even some of the secret places of the Blue Dragon sect, such as the library, were open for him to tour. However, Chu Fengmian lost interest after taking a look at the library. After all, the Blue Dragon sect was established by the Blue Dragon clan. Most of the martial techniques recorded in the library were of the Dragon clan. These martial techniques were extremely valuable to other martial artists and demon gods, but they were of little use to Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian controlled a part of the dragon origin and comprehended the first 6 moves of the 9 moves of the primogenitor. All the martial techniques of the Dragon clan in the world were derived from the 9 moves of the primogenitor. It could be said that all the martial techniques recorded in the library belonged to the first 6 moves of the primogenitor. Chu Fengmian had already comprehended all of them. These ancient books that recorded the Dragon clan's martial skills were like waste paper to Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian took a look and let the Mad Dragon Emperor take him to another place. This is the sacred ground of the Blue Dragon sect. Chu Fengmian looked around as he walked. Finally, he came to a valley. The valley was covered with a large number of formations and restrictions. The defense was extremely tight. It was the most important place in the Blue Dragon sect, the sacred ground of the Blue Dragon sect. As a behemoth that ruled a star domain, it was inevitable that there would be a sacred ground that was used to nurture disciples. The sacred ground was the foundation of a sect. For example, the Sword Dao school that Chu Fengmian had established controlled the entire northern region. However, the true core of the Sword Dao school was located in the Sword Origin world. The Sword Origin world was the foundation of the Sword Dao sect. Even if the northern region was destroyed in the future, so long as the Sword Origin world remained, the Sword Dao sect wouldn't suffer any significant losses. Young master, are you interested? Mad Dragon Emperor stood beside Chu Fengmian and asked when he saw that Chu Fengmian had stopped. Let's go in and have a look. Chu Fengmian said. The Mad Dragon Emperor, who was at the side, gathered his spiritual energy and created a gap in the restriction array that enveloped the valley. As soon as Chu Fengmian stepped into the valley, he could feel the pure spiritual energy within. Within this spiritual energy, there was also a faint pure dragon power. This dragon power was extremely beneficial to the dragon race's Yao gods. This is dragon power? Chu Fengmian was slightly surprised when he sensed the dragon force within. The underground spirit spring beneath the valley actually contained dragon force. It's said that the underground spirit spring of the Blue Dragon sect came from the country of 10,000 dragons and was tainted with the aura of the former country of 10,000 dragons. Therefore, it contains dragon force and is extremely beneficial to the dragon race. Mad Dragon Emperor saw Chu Fengmian's confusion and explained. The country of 10,000 dragons. Hearing this name, Chu Fengmian's curiosity was piqued. The country of 10,000 dragons was once the country of the dragon race. Following the fall of their ancestor, Jianwang, the country of 10,000 dragons also perished. This was also the root of the dragon race's decline. There were very few records about the country of 10,000 dragons in countless ancient books. At most, the existence of the country of 10,000 dragons was mentioned. According to rumors, the country of 10,000 dragons was a continent. There were also rumors that the country of 10,000 dragons was a star domain. Some people even said that the country of 10,000 dragons was a small world. Chu Fengmian had only glimpsed a little of the country of 10,000 dragons' mysteries from the sacred dragon steel and the sacred dragon secret realm. However, Chu Fengmian's strength was insufficient to explore the entire country of 10,000 dragons. The Blue Dragon sect was actually related to the country of 10,000 dragons. The Blue Dragon sect came from the country of 10,000 dragons? Chu Fengmian couldn't help but ask. I don't know. The Blue Dragon sect only came to the Blue Dragon star domain tens of thousands of years ago. It was only a few thousand years ago that they truly dominated the Blue Dragon star domain. However, the origin of the Blue Dragon sect is incomparably ancient. This old man also doesn't know the true origin of the Blue Dragon sect. Mad Dragon Emperor thought for a moment and said, "This sacred ground already existed when I was born. It was only from the mouths of some elders that I learned that the spiritual spring of the Blue Dragon sect came from the country of 10,000 dragons." Although the Mad Dragon Emperor was someone who had lived for tens of thousands of years, it was still incomparably far away from the era of the country of 10,000 dragons. That era was hundreds of thousands of years ago, or even millions of years ago. In the current era, the records of that era were incomparably vague. The country of 10,000 dragons, Chu Fengmian suddenly had a feeling that the country of 10,000 dragons was hiding a great secret. He had a desire to find the country of 10,000 dragons. Once he found the country of 10,000 dragons, it would be a great fortune for Chu Fengmian. However, finding the country of 10,000 dragons was still an illusory thing. It was impossible for Chu Fengmian to find the country of 10,000 dragons now. However, Chu Fengmian also felt that he had become a mutated species of heaven and earth and controlled the dragon's origin. It seemed that he had triggered something. Perhaps the country of 10,000 dragons would be born soon. However, with Chu Fengmian's current strength, he had no chance to compete for the country of 10,000 dragons. The country of 10,000 dragons was once the country of the ancestor Jianwang. Once it was born, it would definitely make people go crazy over it. Countless celestial realm experts would participate in the competition. After coming to the Blue Dragon star domain, Chu Fengmian also understood that celestial realm experts were no longer illusory existences. The Mad Dragon Emperor standing in front of Chu Fengmian now was a true celestial realm expert. The Shanghai star domain that Chu Fengmian was about to go to also had celestial realm experts. For Chu Fengmian, he still had to improve his strength to have the ability to compete with celestial realm experts. At that time, even if the country of 10,000 dragons was born, Chu Fengmian would also have the qualifications to compete for it. Chu Fengmian casually strolled around. In the sacred ground of the Blue Dragon sect, there was nothing else worthy of Chu Fengmian's attention except for this spiritual spring. Dragon Emperor, how about we spar? Chapter 1873. Chu Fengmian had never fought against a real celestial realm expert. Although Chu Fengmian had fought against one of Lin Wuxing's incarnations, it was just an incarnation after all. Chu Fengmian now wanted to try fighting against a real celestial realm expert. In the future, if he really encountered a celestial realm expert, Chu Fengmian could be prepared. Oh? If that's what you're thinking, then let's exchange pointers. Mad Dragon Emperor said with a smile after hearing Chu Fengmian's words. Let's go somewhere else. We can't destroy the holy land of the Blue Dragon sect. Let's go to the depths of the void. Chu Fengmian's figure flashed and turned into a ray of light, leaving the Blue Dragon sect, stepping into the void and flying towards the depths of the void. The aftermath of the fight between Chu Fengmian and Mad Dragon Emperor could destroy the holy land, and it would easily attract the attention of others. Only a few people knew about Chu Fengmian's countless secrets, and Chu Fengmian didn't need to hide in front of Mad Dragon Emperor. Mad Dragon Emperor was now Chu Fengmian's best opponent. In the depths of the void, there were countless spatial turbulences, enough to tear a half-step celestial realm expert apart. Even a half-step celestial realm expert dared not step into this place. Chu Fengmian and Mad Dragon Emperor, two figures, came to this place one after another, and the ray of light slowly came to a stop. Let's do it here. Chu Fengmian glanced around, condensed a spiritual power in his palm, and struck out a palm. Boom! In the depths of the void, a space was opened. With Chu Fengmian's comprehension of the Tao of space, the space opened up was incomparably quiet. The spatial turbulence outside could not affect the space in the slightest. Good technique. Even this old man may not be able to do this. Young master's control of the Tao of space is more profound than a celestial realm expert. Mad Dragon Emperor looked at the space formed by Chu Fengmian and praised. Although he was an expert who had stepped into the celestial realm, his control of the Tao of space was still inferior to Chu Fengmian. Ancestor Jianwang was the overlord of the sky. Chu Fengmian obtained a part of Genesis Qi that belonged to Ancestor Jianwang, so his control of the Tao of space was far beyond ordinary people. If Chu Fengmian operated the Tao of space at full strength, it would be able to seal the space of a celestial realm expert. But of course, this seal would only last for a moment. In a real fight. Master, make your move. The Mad Dragon Emperor looked at Chu Fengmian, and the dragon force in his body slowly burst out. His aura was like a rainbow, and he had the aura of the ancient Dragon Emperor. An ancient was a real Dragon Emperor in the ancient era. Ancient Dragon was a real Dragon Emperor. All right. Dragon. Chu Fengmian roared. From his back, a gigantic shadow of the dragon race roared and supported Chu Fengmian's body. Rolling Dragon's aura pressed down. The aura of Chu Fengmian's bloodline condensed and pressed down on the ancient Dragon Emperor. This was the aura of the Thousand Dragon Ancestor. If Chu Fengmian were to face some of the weaker half-step celestial realm demon gods, this dragon's aura alone would be enough to suppress them. This was the aura that came from the bloodline. No dragon race could resist it. The Berserk Dragon Emperor was also a member of the dragon race. The moment he felt this pressure, he felt a sense of subservience in his bloodline. There was no way he could resist this pressure that came from his bloodline. However, this feeling only lasted for a moment. A boundless dragon's aura burst out from the ancient Dragon Emperor's body. The dragon's aura burst out. Vaguely, it resisted the dragon's aura of the Thousand Dragon Ancestor from Chu Fengmian. The ancient Dragon Emperor's cultivation realm was much higher than Chu Fengmian's. A half-step celestial realm demon god might not be able to resist this dragon's aura, but it had no effect on the ancient Dragon Emperor. In an instant, the effect on the ancient Dragon Emperor's body was completely removed. It's useless. Chu Fengmian thought when he saw this scene. No matter how noble the bloodline was, the gap in cultivation realm could not be made up. It was like an innate divine beast with a noble bloodline. However, when it was just born, its strength was still weak. Even the most ordinary human sovereign realm demon god could kill it. The power of the bloodline could only be used when the opponent was at the same cultivation realm. Even if Chu Fengmian was a heavenly variant and controlled the dragon's origin, he could only affect half-step celestial realm demons. It was useless against a real celestial realm demon god. Boom! Since the dragon's might was useless, Chu Fengmian retracted it in an instant. At the same time, Chu Fengmian's dragon force condensed in the center of Chu Fengmian's palm. Suddenly, Chu Fengmian sent a palm strike towards the Mad Dragon Emperor. The sixth move of the primogenitor. At the same time, the Dragon Clan shadow behind Chu Fengmian roared loudly, and at the same time, the dragon's power burst out. Facing the ancient Dragon Emperor, Chu Fengmian did not hold back at all. The strongest move of the Dragon Clan that he had comprehended, the sixth move of the Ancestor, was immediately blasted out. Good! The Wild Dragon Emperor also laughed out loud. The dragon power condensed in his palm, and with a loud bang, he also struck out with his palm. Although the ancient Dragon Emperor was only using a Dragon Clan martial technique, the power that erupted from his celestial realm demon god was not inferior to Chu Fengmian's sixth move of the Ancestor. The two kinds of power suddenly exploded in the air and collided. Come again! Chu Fengmian laughed loudly. He gathered spiritual power in his palm and blasted out the Dragon Clan martial technique one after another. Boom! Boom! Spiritual power exploded in the air. In an instant, Chu Fengmian and the ancient Dragon Emperor had exchanged hundreds of blows. Although it was just a spar and not a real massacre, the power that erupted in the aftermath was enough to shake a half-step celestial realm demon god to death. The ancient Dragon Emperor seemed to be handling Chu Fengmian's continuous bombardment with ease. At this moment, the ancient Dragon Emperor was also familiarizing himself with his own power. After all, the ancient Dragon Emperor had just stepped into the celestial realm and was not familiar with his power. The fight with Chu Fengmian also allowed him to gradually familiarize himself with his own power. With each move, the might of the Dragon Clan's martial skills that the Mad Dragon Emperor unleashed became much stronger. Chu Fengmian was also aware of this point. His attacks were getting easier and easier for the ancient Dragon Emperor to dissolve. Small fights did not pose any threat to the ancient Dragon Emperor at all. Although it was just a spar, Chu Fengmian also wanted to force out the ancient Dragon Emperor's true strength. Chu Fengmian's spiritual power was fully activated. Suddenly, 6 battle dragon claws appeared in the sky at the same time. Chapter 1874. 6 forms at the same time. The 6 battle dragon claws contained the power of the first 6 forms of the primogenitor. All 6 forms were unleashed. Chu Fengmian had reached the pinnacle of the 9 tribulation ancient emperor realm. His spiritual energy had reached its peak. Previously, whenever Chu Fengmian used the 9 forms of primogenitor, he would need a period of time to recover his spiritual energy. But now, Chu Fengmian could easily use all 6 forms at the same time. Although each form of the 9 forms of the primogenitor was stronger than the previous one, the profundity of each form was different. When all 6 forms were used at the same time, the combined power would be many times stronger. Mad Dragon Halberd. The 6 battle dragon claws blasted towards the Mad Dragon Emperor at the same time. The Mad Dragon Emperor's eyes finally showed some seriousness, and he let out a long roar. A halberd suddenly appeared in his hand. The halberd was a half-immortal weapon, and also the spiritual weapon of the Mad Dragon Emperor. The Mad Dragon Emperor held the halberd and swept it across. The halberd's radiance clashed with the 6 battle dragon claws in the air. With the halberd in hand, the Mad Dragon Emperor's aura became countless times stronger. The Mad Dragon Emperor's strength was enough to sweep the entire Blue Dragon sect with his bare hands. Now that he held the halberd, the Mad Dragon Emperor's true strength was displayed. The 6 forms of the primogenitor from the 6 battle dragon claws were crushed by the halberd's radiance. Finally, you're serious. Chu Fengmian looked at the halberd in the Mad Dragon Emperor's hand and laughed. The Horizon Sword box appeared on his back, and 2 sword lights flew out from the box. The moment the 2 sword lights were unsheathed, a dazzling sword chi swept across the world. The Ancestral Dragon Supreme Sword and the Titanic Godly Sword both fell into Chu Fengmian's hands. With the 2 swords in hand, Chu Fengmian's aura was completely different from before. Even though Chu Fengmian had obtained the Dragon Origin Source and integrated the Primordial Chi, his strongest technique was still his sword technique. Holding a spiritual sword was Chu Fengmian's strongest state. Sword Cultivator. The Mad Dragon Emperor was shocked when he saw the spiritual sword in Chu Fengmian's hand. He thought that was Chu Fengmian's full strength. He didn't expect that Chu Fengmian had concealed his true strength. He was a sword cultivator. This was Chu Fengmian's true strength. From the aura on Chu Fengmian's body, he could feel the endless sharpness of the sword intent. Chu Fengmian's attainments in swordsmanship had reached the pinnacle. Not bad. These 2 spiritual swords are of a higher grade than my wild dragon halberd. The Mad Dragon Emperor's eyes Chu Fengmian's spiritual sword chi. He Fengmian immortals level as well as immortal weapons. Immortal level. In terms of spiritual swords alone, the Mad Dragon Emperor in his hands was inferior to these 2 spiritual swords. Dragon Emperor. Chu Fengmian held the spirit sword in his hand, and a smile appeared on his face as he looked at the Mad Dragon Emperor. All right. As soon as the Mad Dragon Emperor's voice faded, he moved. He waved the Mad Dragon Supreme Halberd in his hand and shot out countless sharp lights toward Chu Fengmian. Any one of them was enough to tear apart a half-step celestial realm martial artist's demon god and kill him on the spot. Sword. Trisun Blazing Sword. Chu Fengmian didn't want to be outdone. Pure yang heavenly fire gathered on the sword in his hand. The moment he slashed out, it was like a raging flame that swept across the sky. The raging pure yang heavenly fire collided with the countless sharp lights in the sky. Dragon breaking the firmament. Boom! The mad dragon emperor let out a long roar as a dragon-shaped image appeared on the halberd in his hand. With a loud roar, it charged into the sea of fire. The pure sun sky fire had turned into a sea of fire, but it was torn apart by the dragon-shaped attack. 4 directions hurricane sword. Chu Fengmian slashed out with both swords. The wind's spiritual energy condensed into countless hurricanes. As the sword edge burst out, the sword chi from the world edge sword box also merged into the sword chi hurricane. Sword chi hurricanes that filled the sky bombarded the wild dragon emperor from all directions. The mad dragon emperor was not afraid in the face of the sword chi hurricane. He waved the halberd in his hand again and again, shattering the sword chi hurricane that approached him. At a glance, the mad dragon emperor was like an ancient god of war, looking down on everything. These 2 swords are immortal arts, right? The mad dragon emperor looked at Chu Fengmian and said slowly. This sword technique is impeccable. If I hadn't passed the Great Tribulation, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to resist it. But once you step into the celestial being realm, your strength will increase countless times. If you step into the half-step celestial being realm, you will indeed have the ability to fight against a celestial being realm expert. But now, it's not enough. The mad dragon emperor was right. Chu Fengmian's sword technique was impeccable. Now, his weakest point was his realm. If Chu Fengmian could step into the half-step celestial being realm, he would have the ability to fight against a real celestial being realm expert. But now, Chu Fengmian was just a 9 tribulations emperor Gu. No matter how strong his immortal arts were, it would be difficult to threaten the mad dragon emperor. I still have one last sword. Chu Fengmian did not answer the mad dragon emperor. Instead, he looked at the mad dragon emperor and said with a sharp gaze. Be careful, dragon emperor. Come on. The mad dragon emperor was full of confidence. He held the halberd in his hand and was ready to fight. Stars. Chu Fengmian raised his sword. In the endless starry sky, the endless power of stars began to surge toward Chu Fengmian. The 2 swords were filled with the power of stars. In an instant, the sword intent and the power of stars had been condensed to the extreme. 9 profound. Boom! The 2 swords struck out at the same time. The 2 swords merged into one in the sky. Filled with the power of stars, it immediately turned into a river of stars and slashed toward the mad dragon emperor. This river of stars contained all of the 9 profound sword technique that Chu Fengmian had comprehended. Tanlang, Jumen, Lu Siyuan, Tianji, Qi Sha. 5 streams of the 9 mysteries sword art gathered together and burst out. Creation. In addition to the 5-9 profound sword technique that were condensed by the power of stars, it also contained the power of Chu Fengmian's natal sword origin. The power of creation was also contained in this sword. This sword edge was almost the strongest sword that Chu Fengmian could unleash. Unless Chu Fengmian used the Emperor Jar, this would be the strongest sword that he could unleash. Chapter 1875. The Milky Way shrouded the mad dragon emperor's body, leaving him no room to retreat. The power of the first 5 styles of the 9 mystic immortal art was fully unleashed. It contained the power of creation, making it even more powerful. The blood-red word 7 kills had already fused with the power of creation. It looked down on everything and was unstoppable. The power of creation. The Berserk Dragon Emperor also sensed the power contained within it with a glance. It actually contained the power of creation. It belonged to the heavenly Tao, the power to judge everything. Now, it was being displayed by Chu Fengmian. The mad dragon emperor's face turned serious. The moment the sword edge approached him, a dragon roar was heard. Roar! Along with the dragon roar, a dragon shadow that was thousands of feet long flew out. It was the true form of the mad dragon emperor. The gigantic dragon shadow contained the true power of the mad dragon emperor. transforming into his true form was the strongest moment of the Mad Dragon Emperor. Rumble! The Mad Dragon Emperor's body sank into the Milky Way, enduring the countless attacks of the sword chi. However, the Mad Dragon Emperor was not suppressed by the sword chi at all. 2 dragon claws swept out. These 2 dragon claws were enough to tear apart everything in the world. The Milky Way clashed with the 2 dragon claws and was torn apart. In the end, it was completely shattered. After tearing the Milky Way apart, the Mad Dragon Emperor heaved a sigh of relief. However, at this moment, the power of the stars in the sky suddenly gathered. A sword light silently approached the Mad Dragon Emperor's back. What? Even the Mad Dragon Emperor was shocked. He didn't notice where the sword light came from. However, he was, after all, a true celestial realm powerhouse. Suddenly, countless dragon scales condensed together, unleashing the ancient Dragon Emperor body, turning into an invincible barrier, blocking the sword light. Crack! Even with the ancient Dragon Emperor body's defense, it was still shattered by the sword light. Some of the dragon scales were also shattered. However, this was the limit. The power of the sword light had been exhausted. Still a little lacking. Chu Fengmian sighed when he saw the result. I've lost. The sudden flash of sword light just now was Chu Fengmian's last resort. This sword light was the 6th move of the 9 Mystic Immortal Technique, Tuo Luo. The 6th move of the 9 Mystic Immortal Technique, Tuo Luo, was different from the 5th move, 7 kills. It was a strange move. As Chu Fengmian's cultivation level rose to the peak of the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu, he also comprehended the 6th move of the 9 Profound Immortal Art, Tuo Luo. However, this was the first time Chu Fengmian had used it. This move, Tuo Luo, was incomparably strange. When it was integrated into the sword technique, it became a deadly assassination move that was impossible to guard against. Even the Mad Dragon Emperor, who was a Sky Realm expert, was caught off guard by this sudden attack. However, Mad Dragon Emperor's strength was still far superior to Chu Fengmian's. Even if he was in a panic, he could still block Chu Fengmian's sword. Ultimately, it was because Chu Fengmian was not strong enough. No matter how strong his swordsmanship was, it was meaningless if he did not have enough strength. It seems that I have to step into the half-step celestial realm before I can be considered to have the ability to fight against a celestial realm expert. Chu Fengmian thought to himself. However, Chu Fengmian was already satisfied to be able to force Mad Dragon Emperor to reveal his true form. At least, it proved that Chu Fengmian's full strength was enough to make a celestial realm expert take him seriously. In this way, although Chu Fengmian could not really contend against a real celestial realm expert, he still had a chance to escape unscathed if he encountered one. This time, Chu Fengmian was going to Sunhai Star region, and there was still a possibility of encountering a celestial realm expert. Therefore, it was better to be safe than sorry. This old man admires young master's strength. Mad Dragon Emperor also returned to his human form and came in front of Chu Fengmian. The small injury caused by the sword was nothing to him, and he could recover in an instant. I didn't expect young master's swordsmanship to have reached the peak. This is really, Mad Dragon Emperor looked at Chu Fengmian, and for a moment, he did not know how to describe Chu Fengmian. He could see that Chu Fengmian's real age was only in his early 20s. At such a young age, if it was said that obtaining the Genesis Chi and surviving the heaven-defying tribulation could be considered as an opportunity. But now, Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship had reached the peak, and it was somewhat unreasonable. Mad Dragon Emperor had seen countless sword cultivators before, but Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship was the most powerful among all the sword cultivators he had seen. Swordsmanship must be accumulated over a long period of time to become stronger, but now, Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship had reached the peak at such a young age. Mad Dragon Emperor could not help but be surprised. Some opportunities. Chu Fengmian smiled. His swordsmanship came from the understanding of his previous life. In his previous life, he had cultivated the sword all his life. Even though he did not have any spiritual power, he had cultivated his swordsmanship to the peak. Moreover, Chu Fengmian was originally a genius in swordsmanship. In this life, Chu Fengmian created the 9 region swordsmanship, which further improved his swordsmanship to such an amazing level. Chu Fengmian was only one step away from the origin of swordsmanship. However, the origin of swordsmanship was not something that could be comprehended through simple comprehension. It also needed the help of the incomplete swordsmanship hidden in the sword totem to be truly comprehended. Chu Fengmian had only obtained 3 sword totems, but he had already benefited greatly from them. If he could obtain more sword totems, Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship could be further improved. By the way, Dragon Emperor, have you heard of sword totems? Chu Fengmian looked at Mad Dragon Emperor and suddenly asked. Are there any sword totems in the Azure Dragon Star area? Sword totem, the supreme sword treasure that records countless swordsmanship? Mad Dragon Emperor could not help but ask. He had also heard of the supreme sword treasure, the sword totem. It could be said that the sword totem was something that countless sword cultivators would go crazy for. However, Mad Dragon Emperor did not cultivate swordsmanship, so he only heard of it and did not know much about it. Mad Dragon Emperor thought for a moment and then said. There shouldn't be any sword totem in the Azure Dragon Star area, but young master, aren't you going to the Sanhai Star area? It is said that there is a sword totem in the Sanhai Star area. Really? Hearing the first half of the sentence, Chu Fengmian was a little disappointed, but the next half made Chu Fengmian overjoyed. There was a sword totem in the Sanhai Star area? Chapter 1876. In the Daluo Star domain, Chu Fengmian had obtained one by chance, which confirmed his guess. Therefore, Chu Fengmian was just asking the Mad Dragon Emperor to try his luck, but he didn't expect to gain something. The Mad Dragon Emperor thought for a moment and said. When I was young, I once traveled the Sanhai Star domain. I heard that there was a sect in the Sanhai Star domain called the Sea Sword Sect, which had a sword Dao totem. Sea Sword Sect? Chu Fengmian silently remembered the name. When he went to the Sanhai Star domain, Chu Fengmian could visit the Sea Sword Sect. The sword Dao totem was a supreme treasure, and it was worth it for Chu Fengmian to find it. Let's return to the Blue Dragon Sect first. Chu Fengmian said, and the Mad Dragon Emperor nodded. The two turned into a ray of light from the depths of the void and returned to the Blue Dragon Sect. The chaos in the Blue Dragon Sect had calmed down during this period of time. Although Chu Fengmian had killed the sect master of the Blue Dragon Sect, the old ancestors of the Blue Dragon Sect were still there, and the chaos was soon quelled. However, many disciples of the Blue Dragon Sect could feel that the situation in the Blue Dragon Sect had changed. Chu Fengmian and the Mad Dragon Emperor returned from the depths of the void and came directly to the main hall of the Blue Dragon Sect. In the main hall, several old ancestors of the Blue Dragon Sect were already waiting. When they saw Chu Fengmian and the Mad Dragon Emperor, they hurriedly greeted them. Young Master Chu, Mad Dragon Emperor. This old ancestor was the one who had recognized the Mad Dragon Emperor's identity. He was the oldest among the old ancestors, and now that the sect master of the Blue Dragon Sect wasn't here, he was in charge of everything. How should I address you? Chu Fengmian looked at the old ancestor and said calmly. Long Wuzhong, young master can call me by my name. Long Wuzhong replied. When he replied, Long Wuzhong's tone was hesitant. If you have something to say, just say it. Chu Fengmian saw the scene and said casually. Long Wuzhong hesitated for a moment and said. I wonder how young Master Chu plans to rule the Blue Dragon Sect. Do you want to be the sect master of the Blue Dragon Sect, or? Long Wuzhong was more concerned about the Blue Dragon Sect. Now that Chu Fengmian had killed the sect master of the Blue Dragon Sect, no one in the entire Blue Dragon Sect could oppose Chu Fengmian. Moreover, Chu Fengmian had the Mad Dragon Emperor, a true celestial realm expert, by his side. The Blue Dragon Sect had already fallen into Chu Fengmian's hands. These patriarchs also wanted to know what Chu Fengmian's next step was. Oh? Who said I want to rule the Blue Dragon Sect? Chu Fengmian smiled when he heard Long Wuzhong's words. Then what does young master mean? Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Long Wuzhong said blankly. Chu Fengmian came with the Mad Dragon Emperor and swept away all the ancestors of the Blue Dragon sect, taking control of the sect in the palm of his hand. But Chu Fengmian's goal wasn't the Blue Dragon sect. I only came to the Blue Dragon sect to avoid trouble in the future. As for ruling the Blue Dragon sect, leave it to someone else. Chu Fengmian said with a smile. At the same time, he looked at Mad Dragon Emperor. Dragon Emperor, come and rule the Blue Dragon sect in the future. Young master, this? Mad Dragon Emperor was a little surprised when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. I still have to follow young master to the Sunhai Star region. How can I rule the Blue Dragon sect? I don't need Dragon Emperor to follow me to the Sunhai Star region, I'll go by myself. Chu Fengmian said. Mad Dragon Emperor was a true celestial realm expert. Many troubles would be solved if he followed Chu Fengmian. However, to become a great expert, one must not hide under the protection of others. Chu Fengmian had gone through countless trials and tribulations in his life to achieve his current strength. To go to the Sunhai Star region, Chu Fengmian naturally had to go alone. He didn't need the protection of others. So Dragon Emperor, stay in the Blue Dragon sect. If I'm in trouble and need Dragon Emperor's help, I'll naturally inform Dragon Emperor. Chu Fengmian looked at Mad Dragon Emperor and said. All right. Mad Dragon Emperor listened to Chu Fengmian's words. He also understood that no one could hide under the protection of others if they wanted to become a great expert. This is a dragon scale. If young Master Chu needs this old man, just inject spiritual energy into it and I'll rush over. Mad Dragon Emperor took out a dragon scale and gave it to Chu Fengmian. This dragon scale had been refined by him. It was a heaven-level spiritual tool. As long as Chu Fengmian was in danger and awakened the dragon scale, Mad Dragon Emperor would be able to rush over. Chu Fengmian took the dragon scale and was ready to leave. The trouble of the Blue Dragon sect had been solved and Chu Fengmian had also obtained the Immortal Stone. There was no point in staying in the Blue Dragon sect. It was time to set off for the Sunhai Star region. After all, the Sunhai Star region had a second-class continent. This was the first time Chu Fengmian was going to a second-class continent. He was extremely excited. Young Master, please wait a moment. I wonder if young Master is willing to become the Dragon Lord of our Blue Dragon sect? Mad Dragon Emperor hurriedly stopped Chu Fengmian and said. What? You want me to be a disciple of the Blue Dragon sect? Chu Fengmian heard this and smiled. This old man doesn't dare. The Dragon Lord position is the highest position in the history of the Blue Dragon sect. It's superior to the sect master. It's usually empty. Now, young master is taking the Dragon Lord position. Mad Dragon Emperor hurriedly explained. Our Blue Dragon sect has some reputation in the Sunhai Star region. If young master encounters any trouble in the future, just reveal your identity and it'll save you a lot of trouble. Is that so? Dragon Lord? Sounds good. I'll take the Dragon Lord position then. Chu Fengmian thought for a moment and nodded. However, he could see through Mad Dragon Emperor's thoughts clearly. The Mad Dragon Emperor wanted to tie Chu Fengmian to the Blue Dragon sect. After all, no one knew Chu Fengmian's future better than the Mad Dragon Emperor. After knowing Chu Fengmian's past, the Mad Dragon Emperor wanted to rope Chu Fengmian in. As long as Chu Fengmian took the Dragon Lord position, his achievements in the future would increase and the status of the Blue Dragon sect would also rise. Chu Fengmian knew what the Mad Dragon Emperor was thinking. However, Chu Fengmian did not refuse. Anyway, the Dragon Lord position wouldn't affect Chu Fengmian at all. It would be a waste if he didn't take it. This is the identity token that represents the Dragon Lord position. Please keep it well. Mad Dragon Emperor gave a signal and Long Wuzhong walked over. He took out a jade token and handed it over to Chu Fengmian. The two words Dragon Lord were engraved on the jade token. Just these two words alone were filled with boundless majesty. Chapter 1877. The identity of the Dragon Lord was indeed noble. Otherwise, a jade token would not be of such a high grade. Chu Fengmian sized up the jade talisman and kept it. Soon after, Chu Fengmian did not stay any longer. He turned into a ray of light and immediately left. After bidding farewell to Jianwang Xian, Chu Fengmian summoned the ancient centipede and went to Canhai Star region with the Princess of the Sea. Mad Dragon Emperor, is this person really worthy of your attention? Even giving him the position of Dragon Lord? After Chu Fengmian left, Long Wuzhong looked at Mad Dragon Emperor and asked in confusion. Mad Dragon Emperor's respect for Chu Fengmian was very strange. Mad Dragon Emperor had stepped into the celestial realm and became an immortal. But now, he was so respectful to Chu Fengmian. He even gave the position of Dragon Lord to Chu Fengmian. The position of the Dragon Lord represented the supreme position of the Blue Dragon sect. In the past, the disciples of the Blue Dragon sect who had sat on the Dragon Lord position were, without exception, geniuses whose names shook countless star fields. Everyone in the Blue Dragon sect fought for the position of Dragon Lord. Now, it was given to an outsider like Chu Fengmian. He could not understand it. Young Master Chu's future is not something you can imagine. It is the honor of the Blue Dragon sect that young Master Chu is willing to take the position of Dragon Lord. Mad Dragon Emperor said in a deep voice. After fighting with Chu Fengmian, he knew how terrifying Chu Fengmian was. Now, Chu Fengmian was only a 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu, but he was able to force Mad Dragon Emperor to fight with his full strength. Once he stepped into the half-step celestial realm in the future, he would be able to compete with a real celestial realm expert. After going through a heaven-defying tribulation and becoming a variant, Chu Fengmian's future was unimaginable. Especially when the Mad Dragon Emperor felt that when Chu Fengmian fought with him, he might not have used his full strength. Chu Fengmian did not use his full strength and still had some hidden strength that could force Mad Dragon Emperor to use his full strength. Mad Dragon Emperor only wanted to repay Chu Fengmian's kindness. But after knowing Chu Fengmian's true strength, Mad Dragon Emperor was determined to stand on Chu Fengmian's side. This was an opportunity for him in the future. The good fortune of the future, could it be that he can be like my lord and ascend to immortality? Long Wuzhong said in surprise. He did not expect the Mad Dragon Emperor to have such a high evaluation of Chu Fengmian. Mad Dragon Emperor was a peerless genius who dominated an era. In that era, not to mention the Azure Dragon Star area, no one could find a genius comparable to Mad Dragon Emperor in the countless surrounding star areas. It could even be said that the geniuses of the 3 sacred domains were at most on the same level as the Mad Dragon Emperor, or perhaps even slightly inferior. If it wasn't for the fact that the Mad Dragon Emperor wanted to go against the heavens and pass the heaven-defying tribulation, with his aptitude, he would have definitely stepped into the celestial realm 40,000 years ago. But now, the Mad Dragon Emperor actually held Chu Fengmian in such high regard. Long Wuzhong was somewhat unable to accept this. Like me? You underestimate young master too much. When Mad Dragon Emperor heard Long Wuzhong's words, he couldn't help but laugh. Only he could understand how terrifying Chu Fengmian's fortune was. Although he was stronger than Chu Fengmian now, it wouldn't be long before Chu Fengmian surpassed him. My achievements are not worth mentioning in front of young master. Not worth mentioning? Long Wuzhong's expression changed abruptly. In his mind, no matter how high Chu Fengmian's aptitude was, he was just like the Mad Dragon Emperor. Stepping into the celestial realm. In the entire Azure Dragon Star area, there would only be one genius who could step into the celestial realm in thousands of years. In Long Wuzhong's opinion, if Chu Fengmian had such aptitude, it would be unbelievable. But now, the Mad Dragon Emperor's words made him stunned for a moment. With the Mad Dragon Emperor's aptitude and arrogance, he could say that his achievements were not worth mentioning in front of Chu Fengmian. If Long Wuzhong did not know the Mad Dragon Emperor's character well, he would not dare to believe his words. The Mad Dragon Emperor was an existence that he looked up to in his life, but Chu Fengmian could actually make the Mad Dragon Emperor say that he was not worth mentioning. The Mad Dragon Emperor looked at the stunned Long Wuzhong and said solemnly, "Now that young Master Chu has taken over the identity of the Dragon Lord, he is the true dragon tribe of the Azure Dragon sect. From now on, young Master is the leader of the Azure Dragon sect. Whoever dares to provoke young master will be killed by me first. The Mad Dragon Emperor's tone was filled with boundless killing intent, causing Wang Wuzhong's expression to turn solemn as he said, "Yes." On the other side, in the endless starry sky, 1,000-feet-long immemorial centipede traversed through the endless starry sky. All kinds of turbulence in the space could not affect the immemorial centipede. In an instant, the immemorial centipede had traveled 1,000 miles. In the endless starry sky, some hidden experts retreated when they saw the immemorial centipede. This was an immemorial desolate beast, even a half-step celestial realm expert could not do anything to it. No one was willing to find trouble with the immemorial centipede. Moreover, Chu Fengmian and the Princess of the Sea were sitting on the immemorial centipede. A person who could subdue the immemorial centipede was definitely not someone to be trifled with, even if the immemorial centipede was not subdued by Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian must have a shocking background to be able to subdue it. Along the way, no one dared to find trouble with the immemorial centipede. Cracks had already appeared on the immemorial centipede's tough body. However, these cracks were not because the immemorial centipede was injured. Instead, it was because the immemorial centipede was about to break through. When Chu Fengmian subdued the immemorial centipede, he was already at the pinnacle of the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu. Although the immemorial centipede possessed the immemorial bloodline, the pinnacle of the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu was already close to his limit. If he wanted to break through, he would need a great opportunity. Therefore, even though the immemorial centipede had devoured countless martial artists and demon gods in the Shattered Stars Belt, he was still stuck at the pinnacle of the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu. He was unable to break through and step into the half-step celestial realm. However, now that the immemorial centipede was subdued by Chu Fengmian naturally had a way to help the immemorial centipede break through. Chu Fengmian's body had been infused with the Genesis Qi and had become an existence similar to an innate divine beast. His blood was the best tonic. For example, Chu Fengmian had condensed the Genesis Qi into a rising dragon elixir to help Yin Wangxian break through. The immemorial centipede actually possessed some of the bloodline of the sky-devouring beast. The sky-devouring beast was the ancestor of all the desolate beasts in the world. It was just like how Jianwang was the ancestor of all the dragons in the world. Chapter 1878. That was why the Wild Beast clan could devour other demon immortals to improve their strength. Chu Fengmian had fused with the heart of the heaven-devouring beast. His blood also contained the power of the heaven-devouring beast. Chu Fengmian condensed his blood into a pill and fed it to the immemorial centipede. It was enough to trigger the thin heaven-devouring beast bloodline in his blood. Now, the immemorial centipede was on the verge of a breakthrough. Once the immemorial centipede's ancient bloodline was triggered and stepped into the half-step celestial realm, his strength would increase exponentially. However, the breakthrough was not something that could be done overnight. Chu Fengmian still needed to travel with the immemorial centipede. With the immemorial centipede, Chu Fengmian's journey was smooth. For example, there was no teleportation formation between the Azure Dragon Star area and the Sunhai Star area. Therefore, the demon immortals had to travel across the starry sky. Therefore, there were many demon immortals hiding in the endless starry sky to kill the passing demon immortals. Now, with the immemorial centipede as a deterrent, no one dared to cause trouble for Chu Fengmian. It would take at least a dozen days for an ordinary demon immortal to travel from the Azure Dragon Star area to the Sunhai Star area with the Sky Shuttle. Even the immemorial centipede would need at least 3 days. Chu Fengmian lay on the immemorial centipede's back leisurely. However, he was not idle either. In his mind, he was still thinking about the battle with the Mad Dragon Emperor. After all, the Mad Dragon Emperor was a true celestial realm expert. Chu Fengmian also learned a lot from the battle. However, on the 3rd day, the immemorial centipede suddenly stopped. It landed on an uninhabited planet and fell into a deep sleep. It actually broke through at this time. Chu Fengmian slowly opened his eyes and looked at the sleeping immemorial centipede. He could also see that the immemorial centipede had broken through at this time. After receiving the heaven-devouring beast bloodline from Chu Fengmian, the immemorial centipede could break through at any time. Originally, Chu Fengmian thought that it could at least reach the Shanghai star area. He did not expect it to break through halfway. I can only wait. Chu Fengmian sat to the side and was not in a hurry. After all, he was not in a hurry. Once the primordial centipede broke through, he, who possessed the bloodline of the heaven-devouring beast, would be able to fight one against 3 half-step celestial being realm martial artists and demon immortals. For Chu Fengmian, this was a great help. This was not an exaggeration, as Chu Fengmian had said. The bloodlines of desolate beasts were extremely powerful. Ordinary desolate beasts could easily fight 2 Fey immortals at the same realm. The primordial centipede had awakened the ancient bloodline of the heaven-devouring beast that Chu Fengmian had bestowed upon him. Once he stepped into the half-step celestial realm, it would not be a problem for him to take on 4 opponents at once. Chu Fengmian sat on the side and waited quietly. As time passed, the primordial centipede's aura grew stronger and stronger. It was on the verge of a breakthrough. The aura emanating from the primordial centipede could be clearly felt from hundreds of miles away. I'm afraid this will attract the attention of others. The Princess of the Sea could not help but say to Chu Fengmian when she saw this. This place is not far from the vast sea star zone. I'm afraid it will attract the experts of the vast sea star zone. The primordial centipede was an ancient desolate beast. Anyone who could subdue this primordial centipede would be a great help. The primordial centipede was on the verge of a breakthrough and needed it the most. The aura of a breakthrough at this time would attract the attention of others. Whoever dares to come will die. Don't worry. Chu Fengmian sat on a huge rock and said quietly. Although his tone was calm, the murderous intent in his words was undisguised. Seeing Chu Fengmian's actions, the Princess of the Sea was relieved. After all, Chu Fengmian had subdued the Blue Dragon sect on his own. Even if someone were to spy on them, she would not be worried with Chu Fengmian around. Half a day later, the primordial centipede's aura had reached its peak. In the sky, the tribulation clouds had already formed. A desolate beast's breakthrough required the same tribulation as a martial artist or demon immortal. In this half a day, many martial artists and demon immortals had sensed the primordial centipede's aura and rushed over. However, many of them retreated when they saw Chu Fengmian sitting next to it. Chu Fengmian didn't hide his cultivation at all. Ordinary true emperors and ancient emperors wouldn't dare to spy on him and would leave immediately. Even in the vast sea star zone, a martial artist at the peak of the 9 tribulations, Emperor Gu was still an expert. Chu Fengmian did not need to do anything. Just his aura alone was enough to make most people retreat. This also saved Chu Fengmian a lot of trouble. The tribulation has begun. The tribulation clouds condensed in bolts of tribulation lightning containing the power of destruction descended from the clouds and bombarded the primordial centipede. The heavenly tribulation of a half-step celestial realm expert was nothing in Chu Fengmian's eyes at the moment. If Chu Fengmian was willing to help, he could destroy the tribulation clouds in an instant and help the primordial centipede overcome the tribulation. However, Chu Fengmian had no intention of doing so. The tribulation was also a trial for the primordial centipede. If he succeeded, his future achievements would be even greater. Unless he was about to fail, Chu Fengmian had no intention of helping. The primordial centipede had awakened its ancient bloodline thanks to the heaven-devouring beast bloodline bestowed by Chu Fengmian. Its strength was no longer the same as before. In the face of the tribulation lightning, the primordial centipede opened its mouth wide. The tribulation lightning was mercilessly devoured by the primordial centipede. The heavenly tribulation of the primordial centipede was about to end in half an hour. A primordial centipede? Or a primordial centipede that has awakened its ancient bloodline and reached the half-step celestial realm? Good stuff. It's actually undergoing tribulation like this? Just as the heavenly tribulation was about to end, a group of people suddenly traveled through space and landed on the planet. They seem to have dared to come because of the primordial centipede's aura and happened to meet the primordial centipede. If senior brother Jiang can subdue such a primordial centipede, who can be his opponent when we return to the palace? This primordial centipede is a wild beast. It's not easy to subdue it normally. However, this primordial centipede has just undergone tribulation and is at its weakest. Let's attack together and subdue it. Chapter 1879. This group of people was extremely young, but each of them was terrifyingly strong, far stronger than the ordinary 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. In terms of strength, they were almost on par with young Master Huanglong, whom Chu Fengmian had extracted as dragon tendons. Young Master Huanglong was a young master of the Blue Dragon sect. He had an extremely high status and was one of the top figures in the entire Blue Dragon Star Zone. There were 6 9 Tribulation Ancient Emperors in this group. All of them were on equal footing with young Lord Huanglong's senior brother Jiang, who was the leader, had already reached the peak of the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu and was about to step into the half-step celestial realm. The other 5 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu were all respectful to senior brother Jiang. These 5 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu were not inferior to young Master Huanglong. They were definitely peerless geniuses. Now that they were so respectful to senior brother Jiang, it was enough to prove senior brother Jiang's strength. The arrival of this group of people immediately set their sights on the primordial centipede. Who are these people? Let's go. This group of malefactors is here. We can't afford to offend them. Seeing the arrival of this group of people, the surrounding martial artists and demon gods who wanted to spy on the primordial centipede all retreated with fear in their eyes. Young Master, these people are the core disciples of the North Sea Palace. The North Sea Palace is one of the 3 most powerful forces in the entire Sunhai Star Zone. The North Sea that the North Sea Palace controls is a continent. These core disciples of the North Sea Palace are not inferior to the young Master of the Blue Dragon sect. The best among them can even fight above their level. 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu could kill a half-step celestial realm expert. The Princess of the Sea's expression changed when she saw the arrival of this group of people. She looked a little nervous. Obviously, she was extremely wary of the North Sea Palace. The Princess of the Sea was once born in that Sunhai Star Zone. Her understanding of the major forces in that Sunhai Star Zone far exceeded Chu Fengmian. She knew how terrifying the North Sea Palace was. Is that so? The North Sea Palace controls a second-class continent? It seems that there are celestial realm experts in the North Sea Palace. Chu Fengmian sized up the core disciples of North Sea Temple. From their cultivation methods and martial skills, Chu Fengmian could vaguely sense traces of immortal arts. This also proved that there was at least one celestial realm cultivator in the North Sea Temple. Only then would they be able to integrate immortal techniques into the cultivation methods and martial skills of the North Sea Hall. Once immortal arts were integrated into the North Sea Palace, the North Sea Palace's cultivation methods and martial techniques would far surpass ordinary heaven-grade cultivation methods and heaven-grade martial techniques. Even if it was not a complete immortal technique, it was enough to give them an advantage when facing cultivators of the same level. Moreover, the bloodline of these North Sea Palace disciples also contained the bloodline of the Sea Clan. They were not inferior to young Lord Huanglong, which was why they had such terrifying strength. An ordinary Emperor Gu of the 9 Tribulations was not even worth mentioning in front of them. They could kill him with a wave of their hand. It's a pity that he's not a disciple of the Sea Sword sect. Chu Fengmian mumbled to himself. According to Mad Dragon Emperor, there was a sword principal totem in the Sea Sword sect. If Chu Fengmian met the disciples of the Sea Sword sect, he could explore about the sword principal totem. The Sea Sword sect is also one of the 3 major forces in the vast Sea Star Zone. They are extremely powerful and have celestial realm experts. Young Lord, you must be careful. The Princess of the Sea could not help but explain when she heard Chu Fengmian's words. Oh? They have celestial realm experts? Hearing this, Chu Fengmian frowned slightly. If the strength of the Sea Sword sect was similar to that of the Blue Dragon sect, Chu Fengmian could directly barge in and take the sword principal totem. However, the Sea Sword sect had a real celestial realm expert. Chu Fengmian's plan had to be changed. He needed to plan carefully. Chu Fengmian's true strength was far from being able to compete with a celestial realm expert. When he faced Mad Dragon Emperor did not want to kill him. Otherwise, Chu Fengmian would not have been so relaxed. If a celestial realm expert wanted to kill, the strength that he could unleash would be completely different. If the Sea Sword sect had a celestial realm expert, Chu Fengmian would not be able to escape unscathed if he dared to barge in. Oh! Someone actually beat us to it. Just as Chu Fengmian was thinking, the few core disciples of the North Sea Palace descended and saw Chu Fengmian and the Princess of the Sea sitting beside the primordial centipede. Oh! 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu? One of the core disciples of the North Sea Palace sized up Chu Fengmian and the Princess of the Sea with disdain in his eyes. Although he was also a 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu, he was almost invincible in the same realm. An ordinary 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu was nothing in his eyes. Disciples of the North Sea Palace, this primordial centipede is our mount. Please leave. The Princess of the Sea shouted when she saw the arrival of these people. Huh? What do you mean your mounts? Do you think you are qualified to have this primordial centipede? One of the disciples of the North Sea Palace laughed when he heard what the Princess of the Sea said. Moreover, this primordial centipede belongs to our senior brother Jiang since he has taken a fancy to it. Get lost, or we will feed you to this primordial centipede. 2 Puny 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. Why are you wasting your breath? Just kill them and extract their blood essence. That's right. That girl is pretty. She can be given to senior brother Jiang as a concubine. As for that guy, just kill him and extract his blood essence. Senior brother Jiang is not interested in women. Give him to me. Give him to you? Which of the girls in your hands can live for more than half a year? Didn't you torture them to death? Ha ha ha, it's their honor to be killed by me. The few core disciples of the North Sea Palace laughed as they sized up Chu Fengmian and the Princess of the Sea. In their eyes, Chu Fengmian and the Princess of the Sea were already in the bag. You! The Princess of the Sea's face changed when she saw the greedy gazes that were directed at her. These disciples of the North Sea Palace were completely unreasonable. In the entire vast Sea Star Zone, these disciples of the North Sea Palace would not take anyone seriously unless they were disciples of the 3 superpowers. Stop wasting time. Let's get rid of them before we subdue this primordial centipede. Senior brother Jiang, who was the leader, said coldly. Yes. A disciple of the North Sea Palace walked over and looked at Chu Fengmian with a hideous expression. Brat, are you going to kill yourself, or are you waiting for me to do it? Where did this bunch of reckless people come from? Get lost. If you don't get lost, all of you will die. Chapter 1880. As soon as Chu Fengmian's voice fell, the whole place fell silent. Then, laughter erupted. Ha ha, where did this kid come from? How dare he threaten us? He's probably a kid from some remote star domain. He doesn't know how powerful we are. Interesting, interesting. Yan Jing, it seems like your words are useless. Being ridiculed by a kid is a disgrace to the disciples of North Sea Temple. Shut up. The disciple named Yan Jing shouted coldly. He stared at Chu Fengmian, his eyes flashing with endless killing intent. What an arrogant and conceited brat. You brought this upon yourself. Die. The disciple of North Sea Temple roared. With a swoosh, a trident appeared in his hand and he thrust it at Chu Fengmian. Trident. The weapon of the sea god. It was said that the sea god of the ancient sea tribe used a trident to sweep everything and establish the status of the ancient sea tribe. Later on, the purest members of the sea tribe cultivated the trident halberd technique. As soon as Yan Jing thrust his trident at Chu Fengmian, countless waves condensed out of thin air and pressed down on Chu Fengmian. The tyrannical power contained in the waves was enough to crush any warrior caught in it. It seemed like a casual blow, but it contained incomparably ferocious killing intent. Break it! Chu Fengmian did not even bother to look at Yan Jing. The moment the trident swept over countless waves, Chu Fengmian suddenly made his move. His casual palm contained the power of the 9 moves of the primogenitor. It suddenly turned into a huge war dragon claw, sweeping everything in its path. The trident, along with countless waves, was shattered by the war dragon's claw. The tyrannical power forced Yan Jing to retreat. What? Yan Jing was forced to retreat, and his eyes were filled with astonishment. Yan Jing, don't tell me you can't even deal with a kid like him. This is too embarrassing. I think you don't deserve to be a core disciple of North Sea Temple. You can't even deal with a kid like him? Damn it! Yan Jing roared angrily when he heard the mockery. He glared at Chu Fengmian and yelled angrily. Little bastard, I didn't want to use my real strength. You forced me to. Boom! An ancient phantom suddenly appeared and shrouded Yan Jing's back. It was the phantom of the sea god. Under the shadow of the phantom of the sea god, Yan Jing's strength suddenly increased by countless times. He held the trident in his hand and rushed toward Chu Fengmian again. This time, he used an ancient halberd technique. Every move was fierce and ruthless. He sealed Chu Fengmian's side, making it impossible for Chu Fengmian to escape. The sharp edge was about to tear Chu Fengmian apart. Yan Jing roared ferociously. Chu Fengmian suddenly raised his hand and pointed at Yan Jing. Although it was just a simple point, the sharpness contained in it was extremely terrifying. The countless trident lights that surrounded Chu Fengmian were all destroyed by the finger. The target of the finger was Yan Jing, and it fell on Yan Jing's body. Puff! Yan Jing could not resist the power of Chu Fengmian's finger. He suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The phantom of the sea god behind him was shattered by the power of the finger. Die! Chu Fengmian shouted coldly. Yan Jing's body exploded under the power of the finger. He turned into a cloud of blood mist and was devoured by the sky-devouring secret skill. He could not be more dead. Suddenly, Chu Fengmian's finger blasted Yan Jing to death. The other disciples of North Sea Temple did not react in time. By the time they reacted, Yan Jing had already been killed. Not even his bones were left. He killed Yan Jing with one finger? Yan Jing was a core disciple of North Sea Temple. He could kill an ordinary 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu with one move. But he was killed with one finger? Who is this person? Hidden in the endless starry sky, many martialists and face celestials had been attracted by the primordial centipede's tribulation transcendence. Although they had retreated temporarily upon seeing the arrival of the North Sea Hall disciples, they still wanted to watch the show. However, they didn't expect to see such a scene that they couldn't even imagine. The core disciples of North Sea Temple were almost all monsters among the 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu. Many of them could fight with a half-step celestial being. But Yan Jing was killed by Chu Fengmian with one finger. Chu Fengmian did not use his full strength. He killed Yan Jing in a seemingly casual way, which shocked them. After all, even the other 9 Tribulations Emperor Gu, who were also disciples of North Sea Temple, did not react in time. Damn it! How dare you kill a disciple of North Sea Temple? Kill him! We must kill him! Crush his bones and scatter his ashes. The other disciples of North Sea Temple stared at Chu Fengmian and shouted angrily. At this moment, their voices suddenly stopped, because senior brother Jiang, who was the leader, suddenly moved. He took a step forward and came in front of Chu Fengmian. Seeing senior brother Jiang take action, the rest of them did not dare to speak. Boy, killing a disciple of North Sea Temple is a capital offense. Are you going to surrender, or do you want me to kill you now? Senior brother Jiang spoke with a sense of superiority, as if he regarded everyone in the world as ants. As for Chu Fengmian, after killing Yan Jing, he was just a slightly bigger ant in senior brother Jiang's eyes. He was at his mercy. What? Another braggart? These disciples of North Sea Temple are not very strong, but they talk big. Chu Fengmian said with a disdainful smile. Senior brother Jiang, right? If you kneel down now, I can spare your lives. Otherwise, you will all be buried together with Yan Jing. Boy, it seems that you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Senior brother Jiang looked angry when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. With his status, he had never been ridiculed like this. Then I'll kill you now. The moment he spoke, senior brother Jiang suddenly condensed his spiritual power and attacked. He also condensed a trident in his hand. It was obviously his cultivation method and martial technique, just like Yan Jing. However, in terms of aura, senior brother Jiang's aura was 10 times stronger than Yan Jing's. Chapter 1881. Senior brother Jiang has made his move. This brat is going to die without a burial place. It's an honor for this brat to die in the hands of senior brother Jiang. The other disciples of the North Sea Temple sneered when they saw senior brother Jiang make his move. They were waiting to see how Chu Fengmian would die. Senior brother Jiang had once forced a half-step celestial realm expert to retreat. His strength was definitely not something that the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu could contend against. Just as the disciples of the North Sea Temple were waiting to see how Chu Fengmian would die, the smiles on their faces suddenly froze. On the other side, Chu Fengmian's body suddenly moved the moment the trident bombarded him. Dragon power condensed and integrated into his palm. Primogenitor's first move. Chu Fengmian took a step forward and struck out with his palm. The moment his palm struck out, it immediately turned into a war dragon claw and swept across. Senior brother Jiang had already anticipated the bombardment of the palm and was ready to block it with his trident. However, the moment the power of the war dragon claw bombarded his body, his expression changed abruptly. The power that was transmitted from the battle dragon claw was simply unimaginable to him. Under the tremendous force, the trident in senior brother Jiang's hand was shattered into pieces. Senior brother Jiang's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly retreated, trying to neutralize the power of the war dragon claw. However, a wave of dragon power suddenly descended from the sky and suppressed him. Kneel! At the same time, a cold voice was transmitted to his ears. Under everyone's incredulous gazes, senior brother Jiang was suppressed by the war dragon claw. Senior martial brother Jiang was suppressed by this dragon's might. His knees went soft and he immediately knelt in front of Chu Fengmian. The scene was extremely silent. Countless martial artists and Yao gods who witnessed this scene doubted their eyes. Senior brother Jiang was kneeling in front of Chu Fengmian just like that. He was almost powerless under Chu Fengmian's move and was forced to kneel on the ground. This was even more shocking than Chu Fengmian killing senior brother Jiang with a single move. For martial artists and Yao gods like senior brother Jiang, suppressing them was more difficult than killing them. However, Chu Fengmian's simple palm strike had suppressed senior martial brother Jiang, forcing him to kneel before him. After a brief moment of silence, the crowd burst into an uproar. How is that possible? This was Jiang Zhan. He's a peerless genius of the North Sea Hall. He's a famous figure among the core disciples of the North Sea Hall, yet he was suppressed by this person with a wave of his hand? Could this person be a half-step celestial being expert? No, even a half-step celestial realm expert doesn't have such ability. Where did this person come from? Could he be a genius from one of the Saint Realms? All the warriors and demon gods who saw this scene felt that it was unreal. They were 10 times more shocked than when Chu Fengmian had just killed Yan Jing. After all, Yan Jing was just an ordinary core disciple of North Sea Temple. Even though Chu Fengmian had killed Yan Jing with one move, there were still other geniuses in that Sanhai Star Zone who could do the same. However, this senior brother Jiang Zhan, was completely different from Yan Jing. Even among the core disciples of North Sea Temple, Jiang Zhan was an absolute expert. Now, he was defeated by Chu Fengmian with one move and even knelt on the ground. this also meant that Jiang had no power to fight back in front of Chu Fengmian. Damn it! Damn it! I'm going to kill you! I'm going to kill you! Jiang, who was kneeling on the ground, felt countless gazes on him when he heard the discussions. These gazes were simply boundless humiliation to him. Jiang had never been humiliated like this since he was born. The anger in his heart had reached its peak. He wanted to kill Chu Fengmian and kill all the people who had seen this scene. Fury of the sea god. Blood stains the sea. Boundless anger turned into Jiang's power and gathered on his body, trying to resist the dragon power that was suppressing him. This burst of power was simply enough to make a half-step celestial being expert retreat. However, at the moment when Jiang's power reached its peak, Chu Fengmian suddenly stepped out and stepped on Jiang's head, pressing it to the ground. What? You still want to resist? With your meager strength, killing you is as easy as crushing an ant for me. Chu Fengmian's lips curled into a cold smile. Chu Fengmian's foot had also crushed the power that Jiang had just gathered to resist Chu Fengmian's power. You! With his head being stepped on, Jiang's face was flushed red with anger. However, no matter how he resisted, it was useless. This made the surrounding warriors and Fey gods gasp in amazement. The disciples of the North Sea Temple were all arrogant and domineering in the Shanghai Star Zone. These core disciples did not even put the other sects in their eyes. When had they fallen to such a state and been stepped on by someone? Damn it! Let go of senior brother Jiang. Boy, you dare to make an enemy of the North Sea Temple? You'll be hunted down endlessly in the future. The other disciples of the North Sea Temple looked at Jiang, who was being stepped on by Chu Fengmian, and wanted to save him. However, when they thought of how Jiang had been defeated by Chu Fengmian, no one dared to step forward. They only dared to threaten him. Make an enemy of the North Sea Temple? So what? Chu Fengmian said with disdain when he heard the threats. He had never been afraid of anyone's threats in his life. All of you, come over here and kneel. Chu Fengmian looked at the remaining disciples of the North Sea Temple and said coldly. Not good. Run. Run. Seeing Chu Fengmian's gaze, the remaining 4 disciples of the North Sea Temple trembled. They did not want to kneel in front of Chu Fengmian. In an instant, they turned into 4 rays of light and fled in all directions. In an instant, the 4 rays of light left the desolate planet and escaped into the endless starry sky. Trying to escape in front of me? Chu Fengmian looked at the 4 rays of light and let them escape. He smiled disdainfully. Get back here! As soon as Chu Fengmian spoke, he suddenly attacked, sending a palm strike toward the boundless starry sky. Then, he made a grasping motion. All of a sudden, the 4 figures that had fled thousands of miles into the endless starry sky suddenly returned to Chu Fengmian's palm. Even if they had escaped thousands of miles away, they could not escape from Chu Fengmian's palm. Kneel! Chapter 1882. Like Jiang, the 4 disciples of the North Sea Temple were powerless to fight back under the suppression of the dragon power. They all knelt before Chu Fengmian. Even Jiang was powerless in front of Chu Fengmian, let alone these 4. Except for Yan Jing, who was killed by Chu Fengmian, the remaining 5 disciples of the North Sea Temple were all kneeling in front of Chu Fengmian. Am I dreaming? He captured the escaping light thousands of miles away with a wave of his hand. What kind of strength is this? It's too terrifying. This person is not inferior to the peerless geniuses cultivated by the 3 major forces. Let's go, we can't watch any longer. The warriors and demon gods who were watching the show fled in all directions. Chu Fengmian's attacks were more terrifying each time. The first time he attacked, he killed Yan Jing with 1 move. The second time he attacked, he suppressed Jiang with 1 move and made him kneel on the ground. The third time he attacked, Chu Fengmian captured the 4 disciples of the North Sea Temple who had fled thousands of miles away with 1 move. The power of 1 move crossed thousands of miles. This kind of means was simply shocking. It was not something that a Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu could perform. These warriors and demon gods came to spy on the ancient centipede. Now that they saw Chu Fengmian's strength, none of them dared to stay any longer. They were also afraid that once Chu Fengmian got angry, they would all die here. In the endless starry sky around this desolate planet, no one dared to hide and spy. Chu Fengmian did not stop them. He was not a bloodthirsty person. Since these people did not attack, Chu Fengmian would not kill them. Roar! Roar! At this moment, a roar came from beside Chu Fengmian. The primordial centipede had awakened. The scales on the ancient centipede were now brand new. The power contained in the ancient centipede was also completely different from before. It had truly stepped into the half-step celestial realm. Roar, roar. The ancient centipede was extremely respectful when it saw Chu Fengmian. When a wild beast stepped into the half-step celestial realm, it would truly gain intelligence. Although it could not speak human language, it could understand many things. Previously, the ancient centipede was just ignorant and acted based on instinct. Now, it was truly considered to have gained intelligence. The reason why the ancient centipede was able to step into the half-step celestial realm was all thanks to the heaven-devouring beast bloodline that Chu Fengmian had bestowed upon him, allowing him to devour. This ancient centipede was naturally extremely respectful towards Chu Fengmian. Good, Fengmian's eyes of the ancient centipede. And step into the celestial realm in the future. Said Chu Fengmian was satisfied. Although he had bestowed the bloodline of the heaven-devouring beast to the primordial centipede, giving him a good fortune, the primordial centipede was able to step into the half-step celestial realm so quickly because of his own efforts. After all, opportunities to Fengmian was C had Fengmian. Even though Chu Fengmian had obtained countless opportunities, he only possessed his current strength after experiencing numerous battles of life and death. Was it? Although the ancient centipede could not communicate, it still understood the meaning of Chu Fengmian's words. Its eyes were filled with joy. Boy, let us go. If you let us go, we can let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, the North Sea Palace will not let you go. Jianwang, who was kneeling on the ground, said coldly to Chu Fengmian. Our North Sea Temple has countless experts who are half a step away from the celestial realm. We even have real experts in the celestial realm. If you want to be our enemy, you'd better think twice. I advise you to let us go. Today's matter can be easily solved. That's right. Let us go. The other disciples of the North Sea Palace also threatened Chu Fengmian. Oh, is that so? I'd like to see if the celestial realm experts of the North Sea Palace will take action if I kill you. Chu Fengmian was eager to try when he heard the words of the disciples of the North Sea Palace. The disciples of the North Sea Hall paled when they saw Chu Fengmian's expression. They had wanted to threaten Chu Fengmian to let them go. They did not expect the threat to have the opposite effect. You, how dare you? One of the disciples of the North Sea Palace did not give up and continued to threaten Chu Fengmian. Why wouldn't I dare? Primordial centipede, swallow them. Chu Fengmian said casually. Roar! The primordial centipede was extremely excited when it heard Chu Fengmian's words. It immediately opened its mouth and swallowed the disciples of the North Sea Palace. The strength of the disciples of the North Sea Palace was not bad. The primordial centipede had just broken through and needed essence blood to replenish its strength. In one gulp, the disciples of the North Sea Palace were all buried in the primordial centipede's mouth. Chu Fengmian made a grabbing motion with his hand, and 6 empty rings appeared in his palm. These 6 empty rings belonged to the 6 disciples of the North Sea Palace. After all, the North Sea Palace was a force that ruled a second-class continent. Chu Fengmian wanted to see what treasures were in the empty rings of the disciples of the North Sea Palace. Chu Fengmian infused a stream of spiritual power into the empty rings and opened them. However, Chu Fengmian's eyes showed some disappointment when he glanced at them. These 6 empty rings were filled with ordinary divine elixirs, materials, and so on. Although many of them were specialties of the vast sea star zone, they were of no use to Chu Fengmian. The vast sea star zone was a star zone dominated by the sea tribe. The divine elixirs, and materials produced there were useful to the sea tribe and martial artists who mainly cultivated water-type techniques. However, they were useless to Chu Fengmian. As for the immortal stones that Chu Fengmian was most concerned about, he did not find a single one in the empty rings. It seemed that immortal stones were extremely rare even in the vast sea star zone and second-class continents. These empty rings are all yours. Chu Fengmian glanced at the empty rings and threw them to the Princess of the Sea. The Princess of the Sea mainly cultivated water-type techniques and had the bloodline of the sea tribe. Many of the divine elixirs in the empty rings were extremely beneficial to her. "You're giving all of them to me?" The Princess of the Sea took the empty rings and was stunned when she opened them. Although there were no immortal items in the empty rings, there were many divine elixirs. They were extremely valuable even to martial artists and demon gods who were half a step away from the celestial realm. These 6 empty rings were considered a huge fortune, but Chu Fengmian was giving them to her directly. "If you are stronger, I won't have to be distracted when I run into trouble. This time, I'm afraid it won't be peaceful," Chu Fengmian said casually. Chapter 1883. After the primordial centipede entered the half-step celestial realm, his speed in the endless starry sky had increased. "Master, you have to be careful this time. You have killed a core disciple of the North Sea Temple. The North Sea Temple will not let this go easily. The North Sea Temple's power is spread throughout the entire Sanhai Star Zone." The Princess of the Sea reminded Chu Fengmian along the way. The North Sea Temple has a real celestial realm ancestor. A few hundred years ago, this celestial realm ancestor came out of seclusion. The Princess of the Sea knew Chu Fengmian's strength, but this time, she had to remind Chu Fengmian. After all, the North Sea Temple had a real celestial realm expert. No matter how strong Chu Fengmian was, he could not compete with a real celestial realm expert. "So, the North Sea Temple is the strongest force in the Sanhai Star Zone?" Chu Fengmian nodded after hearing the Princess of the Sea's words. Although he was confident, he was not arrogant. If he encountered a celestial realm expert, he would avoid them. Not really. Although the North Sea Temple and the Sea Sword Sect are 2 of the strongest forces in the Sanhai Star Zone, the strongest and oldest force in the Sanhai Star Zone is the Sea Sacrificial Sect. The Princess of the Sea explained. The Sea Sacrificial Sect is the oldest force in the Sanhai Star Zone. They are in charge of sacrificial ceremonies. No one can challenge their authority. Sea Sacrificial Sect? Sacrificial ceremonies? The ancient human race had the habit of offering sacrifices. At that time, the power of sacrificial ceremonies was greater than that of the emperor. However, as the human emperor led the rise of the human race, the ancient way of sacrificial ceremonies disappeared. It seemed that the Sea tribe still maintained the ancient tradition of sacrificial ceremonies. "The person you want me to kill, which force does he belong to?" Chu Fengmian came to the Sanhai Star Zone for a few reasons. First, he wanted to get the glazed clean water to dissolve the demonic intent in the heart of the demon emperor Blood Demon. Second, he wanted to find immortal stones to prepare for Chu Fengmian's breakthrough to the half-step celestial realm. Third, he wanted to help the Princess of the Sea kill a man named Lan Ming. Lan Ming, as a peak half-step celestial realm expert, was likely to belong to one of the 3 forces. Sea Sacrificial Sect. The Princess of the Sea hesitated. Lan Ming is an elder of the Sea Sacrifice Sect. Sea Sacrificial Sect. The Princess of the Sea Sacrificial Sect. Does that mean that the Sea Sacrifice Sect also has colored glazed clean water? Chu Fengmian asked Princess. Yes. The Princess of the Sea answered. There is a sacrificial lake in the Sea Sacrificial Sect. There is a large amount of glazed clean water within it. Lan Ming is one of the elders in charge of the sacrificial lake. As long as you kill Lan Ming, you will have the opportunity to snatch the glazed clean water from the sacrificial lake. Sacrificial lake. Sea sacrificial sect. It seems that I must find an opportunity to infiltrate the sea sacrificial sect. CCC was sea was, CCCCCCCC, CCC was sea sky. The seashore sect was the #1 force in the Sanhai starfield. It was probably even stronger than the seashore sect in the North Sea Palace. Sea was the Dai Sea sacrificial sea go go. Sea sacrificial sea was. Sea sect was. Was it was. Was. It. However, he still had to go to the Sanhai star field to understand the situation. While Chu Fengmian and the Princess of the Sea were conversing, a massive ocean appeared before their eyes. Chu Fengmian and the Princess of the Sea arrived at the Sanhai star field in less than an hour after the primordial centipede's breakthrough. They arrived at the Sanhai star field on the primordial centipede. The vast sea starfield was called a starfield, but it was actually an enormous ocean. This ocean was so big that it could contain millions of continents. It was boundless. The entire Sanhai starfield was a sea like this. Because of this, the Sanhai star zone was a paradise for the oceanic tribe. This boundless ocean was the best place for the oceanic tribe to live. Later on, a large number of the oceanic tribe occupied the Sanhai starfield. Now, the entire Sanhai starfield was ruled by the oceanic tribe. At a glance, most of the martial artists and Yao gods in the Sanhai star zone were either members of the Sea clan or had the bloodline of the Sea clan. The Sea tribe, which was rarely seen in the outside world, could be seen everywhere in the vast Sea star system. People like Chu Fengmian, who did not have the bloodline of the Sea clan, were the exceptions. Most of the cities in the Sanhai star system are built at the bottom of the sea. Follow me. The Princess of the Sea knew more about the Sanhai star system than Chu Fengmian. After arriving at the Sanhai star system, she guided the primordial centipede to the bottom of the sea. The primordial centipede had the ability to travel through space, so entering the sea was not a problem. As for Chu Fengmian and the Princess of the Sea, they did not have to worry at all. The bottom of the sea in the Sanhai star system was so deep that they could not see the bottom. After diving for tens of kilometers, they finally arrived at the bottom of the sea. The bottom of an ordinary sea should be pitch black. However, the bottom of the Sanhai star system was different. At the bottom of the sea, there were corals that were emitting a unique light, illuminating the entire bottom of the sea. At a glance, there was a city at the bottom of the sea. In this city, there was an endless stream of people and carriages. If it were anywhere else, it would be hard to imagine that there would be such a city at the bottom of the sea. However, this sort of scene was commonplace in the Sanhai star system. Almost 99% of the Sanhai star system was the sea. Occasionally, there would be a continent, but it would already be occupied by various major forces. If one wanted to build a city in that Sanhai star system, it could only be built at the bottom of the sea. However, because most of the martial artists and monster deities in that Sanhai star system had the bloodline of the sea race, they preferred the bottom of the sea to the land. It was more suitable for them to build a city at the bottom of the sea. According to the Princess of the Sea, there were millions of such underwater cities in that Sanhai star system. The city in front of them was called the Lonely Sea City. This was because the sea was called the Lonely Sea, and the Lonely Sea City was the largest city in it. Chu Fengmian controlled the primordial centipede and arrived at the edge of the Lonely Sea City. He put the primordial centipede into the realm monarch's cloth sack, and then he and the Princess of the Sea landed in the city. The cities in the Sanhai star system were the same as the cities in most other star systems. One could enter after paying spirit stones. Chapter 1884. Most of the cities in the Sanhai star zone belonged to a few forces. Solitary Sea City was under the control of the Sea Sword sect. Although Solitary Sea City was an underwater city, there was no seawater in it. It was like land. A huge spirit array enveloped Solitary Sea City, isolating it from the seawater outside. Chu Fengmian could see many ancient figures of the Sea clan on the streets of solitary Sea City. According to the ancient records of the 9 regions, many of these Sea clan members had already gone extinct. However, they could be seen everywhere in solitary Sea City, which was an eye-opener for Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian looked around as he walked. It was very interesting. The princess of the sea beside him seemed to be recalling something as she led Chu Fengmian forward. She was still young when she left the vast sea star field. Now that she had returned, she had to carefully recall her memories. Fortunately, solitary Sea City hasn't changed much. The princess of the sea looked around and couldn't help but say. She had left solitary Sea City 100 years ago. However, 100 years wasn't a long time for a city like this. Cultivators who had stepped into the Emperor realm could live up to 10,000 years. Cultivators and monster gods who had stepped into the half-step heaven realm could live even longer. 100 years was indeed not a long time. The scenes in the Princess of the Sea's memories still existed. Young lord, I plan to pay a visit to an old friend. The Princess of the Sea looked at Chu Fengmian and said. Would you like to wait, or, it's fine. I'll go with you. Chu Fengmian said casually. He didn't know much about the vast sea star field, so he might as well follow the Princess of the Sea. The Princess of the Sea nodded and led Chu Fengmian into solitary Sea City. There were many chambers of commerce in solitary Sea City, standing on both sides of the streets. The Princess of the Sea led Chu Fengmian all the way to a chamber of commerce before stopping. The chamber of commerce was called Qigu. The plaque of the Qigu Chamber of Commerce was extremely old. It was unknown how long it had been since it was last renovated. Moreover, compared to many other chambers of commerce that were as busy as a marketplace, this mysterious ancient chamber of commerce appeared to be extremely desolate. At a glance, there were basically not many people entering it. These two dare to go to the Qigu Chamber of Commerce? They don't want to live anymore. They don't even listen to the orders of the Sea Sword sect. Some of the cultivators and monster gods couldn't help but discuss it when they saw Chu Fengmian and the Princess of the Sea standing in front of the Qigu Chamber of Commerce. What's going on? The Princess of the Sea heard the discussion. Qigu Chamber of Commerce. Let's go in. Chu Fengmian glanced at the surrounding martial artists and demon immortals and said casually. The Princess of the Sea nodded and entered the mystical ancient chamber of commerce, followed by Chu Fengmian. There were no servants inside the mysterious ancient commerce. There was only an old shopkeeper lying on the counter. When he saw someone enter, he didn't even raise his head. Instead, he weakly said, "Young master, I'm sorry. The odd ancient chamber of commerce doesn't do business. The two of you should leave." House. Chu Fengmian couldn't help but smile after hearing the shopkeeper. At the same time, he also looked at the items on the counter of the mysterious ancient chamber of commerce. The items on the Qigu Chamber of Commerce's counter were of high quality. Many of them were useful even to half-step sky-human realm cultivators and monster gods. Although they weren't treasures, they were still treasures that people would fight over. Logically speaking, the Qigu Chamber of Commerce shouldn't be short of customers with such items. However, it was very strange that the Qigu Chamber of Commerce was so desolate. If you don't want to do business, then you don't want to do business. Kid, it seems like you're not from the Sea Tribe. You must be an outsider. Don't cause trouble, the old shopkeeper said helplessly as he looked at Chu Fengmian. Sir, we're not here to buy anything. We're here to look for someone called Qi Yangshi. The Princess of the Sea walked over and said to the shopkeeper. This must be the boss of the Qigu Chamber of Commerce. That's right. The old shopkeeper stood up from the counter and looked at the Princess of the Sea curiously. You are? Tell him that we're from the Lan Hai family. The Princess of the Sea didn't explain. Lan Hai? When the old shopkeeper heard this, he pondered for a moment before replying. Please wait for a moment. With that, the old shopkeeper walked to the back of the Chamber of Commerce. Chu Fengmian and the Princess of the Sea casually found a chair and sat down to rest. Are you called Hai Xian or Lan Ling? Chu Fengmian looked at the Princess of the Sea and suddenly asked. In the Daluo Star domain, the Princess of the Sea was usually called Hai Xian. It was the same in the Sanhai capital. However, when the Princess of the Sea told Chu Fengmian her name, she said Lan Ling. Chu Fengmian's curiosity was piqued when he heard the conversation between the Princess of the Sea and the old shopkeeper. These two names both belong to me. When I was in the Sanhai Star domain, I belonged to the Lan family and was called Lan Ling. However, due to some matters, I had to leave the Sanhai Star domain and went to the Daluo Star domain. I changed my name to Hai Xian so that I wouldn't be discovered. The Princess of the Sea added after thinking for a while. The boss here used to be a member of the Lan family. He's considered one of my elders. So, you were forced to leave the Sanhai Star domain because of Lan Ming? Chu Fengmian asked. Given the hatred that the Princess of the Sea had for Lan Ming, it could only be possible that Lan Ming was the reason why the Princess of the Sea and the others left the Sanhai Star domain. That's right. The Princess of the Sea nodded and was about to continue speaking. An old man suddenly walked out of the Chamber of Commerce. He seemed to be seriously ill as he coughed a few times when he walked out. When the old man saw the Princess of the Sea, he looked at her carefully and said excitedly, "Mississippi Miss, is it Miss Ling?" "It's me, Uncle Chi." The Princess of the Sea was also very excited when she saw the old man. She looked at the old man named Jianwang and said worriedly, "What happened? Uncle Chi, how did you get injured so badly?" "It's a long story." Master Muyang coughed and looked at the Princess of the Sea with an anxious look in his eyes. "Miss Ling, you shouldn't be returning to the Sanhai Star domain at this time. Hurry up and leave. You can't stay in that Sanhai Star domain." "Uncle Chi, what happened? Could it be that Lan Ming found you and attacked you?" Chapter 1885. It's not Lan Ming. It's the Sea Sword sect. Qianshi coughed a few times out of anxiety before continuing. The Sea Sword sect, I don't know where they got the news, but they want to force Miss Ling's family out. Sea Sword sect? The Princess of the Sea's eyes turned cold, and a murderous intent filled her eyes. Damn it, the Sea Sword sect doesn't even care about the agreement. Cough cough, the Sea Sword sect and the Sea Sacrifice sect are just jackhawls of the same tribe. Miss Ling, you should leave that Sanhai Star field and never come back. Qianshi coughed and said anxiously. Miss Ling, you should leave quickly. Otherwise, the Sea Sword sect will be here soon. Although I'm old, I can still delay them for a while. Leave? Where do you think you're going? As expected, there are still many Lan family survivors hiding in that Sanhai Star field. They've finally shown themselves. At this moment, the door of the Chigu Chamber of Commerce was violently kicked open. A group of people rushed into the Chigu Chamber of Commerce. They were aggressive and seemed to be up to no good. Every one of them had a spiritual sword on their back. They were all sword cultivators, and almost every one of them was at the realm above Emperor Gu. The leader of the group was even at the peak of the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu. He was no weaker than Jianwang, whom Chu Fengmian once said he wanted to kill. This group of people barged into the Chigu Chamber of Commerce and surrounded Qianshi, the Princess of the Sea, and the others. Qianshi's face suddenly changed when he saw this group of people. Hi Shirsi, what are you doing here? What am I doing? Old man, why do you think we didn't kill you and let you live? I didn't expect the Lan family survivors to be so loyal and come out at this time. They really can't bear to part with a loyal old dog like you. The young man named Hai Shirsi laughed heartily as his gaze suddenly landed on the Princess of the Sea. The Black Whale bloodline? It's the Black Whale bloodline. It's really the Lan family survivors. I didn't expect to be so lucky. The Black Whale bloodline? It's the supreme bloodline of the Sea clan. 14th Young Master, you are so lucky. If 14th Young Master obtains the Xian Whale bloodline, he may become the sect master of our Sea Sword sect in the future. It's the 14th Young Master's fate. The few Sea Sword sect disciples beside Hai Shirsi all echoed in agreement. The Princess of the Sea and Master Jiangshi's expressions turned increasingly ugly as they listened to the discussions. Hai Shirsi, your Sea Sword sect had an agreement with the Lan family. Master Muyang looked at Hai Shirsi and asked coldly. Promise? What agreement? Oh? The agreement back then was between our Sea Sword sect and the Lan family. However, it wasn't with the remnants of the Lan family like you. Now that the Lan family has long been destroyed, there's no such agreement. Hai Shirsi disdainfully glanced at Master Muyang as he spoke. Old man, being able to let you live for a few years is already a great favor to you. Now, you are useless. Hand over that woman and we can let you live for a few more days. Don't even think about it. When Master Muyang heard this, he was infuriated. He turned around and said to the Princess of the Sea. Miss Ling, leave quickly. This old man will hold them back alone. Is that so? Master Jiang, you're just an old man who's struggling at death's door. How dare you speak such big words? If you were at your peak, perhaps this young master would be wary of you. However, you are just struggling at death's door. Hai Shirsi said disdainfully as he looked at Jiangshi. Looks like you're determined to die. All right then, I'll kill you first, you old dog. Boom! As Hai Shirsi spoke, a shocking sword intent exploded from his body. This sword intent was so strong that it enveloped Hai Shirsi's back. The surrounding Sea Sword sect disciples couldn't withstand his sword intent and retreated one after another. Even Emperor Gu couldn't withstand Hai Shirsi's sword intent. This was enough to prove how sharp Hai Shirsi's sword intent was. Miss Ling, leave quickly. Master Muyang roared. A surge of spiritual energy formed a long spear in his hand. He suddenly attacked and stabbed towards Hai Shirsi. You overestimate yourself. Hai Shirsi sneered and pulled out the spirit sword on his back. In an instant, the sword's edge swept through the entire Chamber of Commerce. The spear in the mystic young master's hand was immediately sent flying by the bombardment of the sword energy. After sending Master Muyang flying, Hai Shirsi didn't continue to pursue him. Instead, he looked directly at the Princess of the Sea. The mysterious whale bloodline is mine. Hand it over. Boom! A dazzling sword intent suddenly shot out. This sword intent formed a huge cage in the air and enveloped the Princess of the Sea. When one's swordsmanship reached the great completion stage, it would be able to transform into anything. Not only could it be used to kill, but it could also be used to seal and suppress. This huge cage was formed by Hai Shirsi's sword intent. The moment it enveloped the Princess of the Sea, a tyrannical spiritual energy immediately suppressed her. It's a pity that the mysterious whale bloodline didn't awaken. It's a waste. When it falls into my hands, it will be the true glory of the mysterious whale bloodline. This bloodline isn't something that the Lan family's remnants are worthy of. Hai Shirsi looked at the Princess of the Sea with greed in his eyes. Who dares to touch my people? Just as the cage formed by Hai Shirsi's sword intent was about to form, a dragon's roar was suddenly heard. A huge war dragon claw descended from the sky and swept everything in its path. Under the sweep of the war dragon claw, the sword intent that enveloped the Princess of the Sea was instantly destroyed. Who is it? At this moment, Hai Shirsi suddenly saw Chu Fengmian. When he entered, he didn't even take Chu Fengmian seriously. Chu Fengmian's sudden attack attracted his attention. Dragon Clan? You dare to meddle in other people's business? Get out! Hai Shirsi looked at Chu Fengmian and frowned as he said coldly. You want me to get out? You don't have the right to do so. If you kneel down now, I can consider sparing your lives. Chu Fengmian sat leisurely on the chair and looked at Hai Shirsi. He didn't show any signs of getting up as he spoke casually. Hai Shirsi's gaze instantly fell on Chu Fengmian. After carefully sizing him up, his eyes were filled with killing intent. You're just a small Emperor Gu of the 9 tribulations. How dare you stand up for me? It seems that I, Hai Shirsi, haven't fought for too long. How dare any Tom, Dick, or Harry act so presumptuously in front of me? Chapter 1886. Haishirsi roared as he turned the sword in his hand and slashed at Chu Fengmian. A blue sword light burst forth from the tip of the sword. The sword radiance contained the power of the Sea Clan. It was said that the Sea Sword sect had created a unique swordsmanship by combining the Sea Clan's martial techniques and swordsmanship into one. The Sea Sword sect had won a place in the vast Sea Star field with this unique swordsmanship. Just the sharpness of the sword had already surpassed many heaven-level sword principles. Interesting. Chu Fengmian smiled when he saw the sword radiance. Chu Fengmian could see through the sword radiance with just a glance. Although the Sea Sword sect's swordsmanship had not reached the level of an immortal technique, it was among the best swordsmanship created by countless swordsmanship sections. Moreover, Chu Fengmian sensed some ancient swordsmanship in the Sea Sword sect's swordsmanship. Chu Fengmian was still skeptical about what Mad Dragon Emperor had said about the sword totem in the Sea Sword sect. Now that he had seen Haishirsi's swordsmanship, Chu Fengmian was more certain that the Sea Sword sect must have a sword totem to create such an immortal technique. Only with a sword totem could the experts of the Sea Sword sect create a swordsmanship that combined the Sea Clan's martial techniques and swordsmanship. However, even though this sword technique was a little mysterious, it was still extremely powerful. But in front of Chu Fengmian, it was simply showing off in front of an expert. Break! Chu Fengmian sat on the chair and did not show any signs of moving. He just slowly raised a finger and pointed it out. Bang! The power of the finger collided with Haishirsi's sword radiance in the air. Haishirsi's sword radiance was mercilessly shattered at the moment of collision. Compared to Chu Fengmian, Haishirsi's attainment in swordsmanship was like a child's. A simple finger was enough to break his swordsmanship. 14th Young Master. Let's go together. Whoosh. The disciples of the Sea Sword sect standing beside Haishirsi were shocked when they saw Haishirsi suffer a loss. Suddenly, the disciples of the Sea Sword sect attacked at the same time. Streaks of sword edges slashed toward Chu Fengmian from all directions. You're just an ant. Chu Fengmian wore a disdainful expression. With a wave of his hand, the battle dragon claw above his head slammed down once again. The battle dragon's claw swept through everything in its path, allowing the sword light that filled the sky to slash at Chu Fengmian from all directions. Streaks of sword light were mercilessly shattered as the battle dragon claw swept towards the Sea Sword sect disciples. Ah! Cries of agony rang out as the disciples of the Sea Sword sect were smashed into pieces by the battle dragon claw. Their blood essences were devoured by the heaven-devouring secret skill the moment they were destroyed by the battle dragon claw, cutting off their hopes of reconstructing their physical bodies. For a moment, the odd ancient chamber of commerce was filled with the smell of blood. Apart from Haishirsi, all of the Sea Sword sect disciples had died under the claws of the battle dragon. Am I dreaming? When did such a tyrannical figure appear in Silent Sea City? Could this person be from the Lan clan? It is said that the Lan clan was once tyrannical and was not inferior to the current three great forces. Impossible. This person is using the Dragon clan's martial technique. How could he be from the Lan clan? Then why is he standing up for the Lan clan? Some of the martialists and Yao gods of Silent Sea City were watching from outside the odd ancient chamber of commerce, ready to watch the show. However, they had not expected to see such an unbelievable scene. These disciples of Sea Sword sect had no power to fight back in front of Chu Fengmian. They were all killed by him one by one. It even seemed that Chu Fengmian had not used his full strength. Chu Fengmian had been sitting in the chair leisurely and did not even get up. He had killed all of the Sea Sword sect disciples with just a wave of his hand. Who exactly are you, Your Excellency? Why are you standing up for the remnants of the Lan clan? Are they the ones who paid you? Haishirsi felt a chill in his heart as he watched the Sea Sword sect disciples being killed by Chu Fengmian. He could not see Chu Fengmian's tyrannical attack clearly, but what frightened him was that Chu Fengmian's sword had broken his sword technique. This was something that even the elders of the Sea Sword sect could not do. Hai Shirsi continued when he saw that Chu Fengmian did not speak. Your Excellency's strength is not bad, but it is nothing in front of the Sea Sword sect. If your Excellency insists on being enemies with the Sea Sword sect, then you are asking for trouble. If it is for the Black Whale bloodline, I am willing to give you half of it. How about it? Chu Fengmian said coldly. You! Boy, don't go too far. This is the Silent Sea City, the territory of the Sea Sword sect. You dared to kill the disciples of the Sea Sword sect, which is an unforgivable crime. Why don't you beg me now? Hai Shirsi's expression changed greatly when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. However, Chu Fengmian's mind moved and a dragon's might pressed down on Hai Shirsi. Hai Shirsi swallowed the words that he wanted to say. Under the suppression of the dragon's might, he could not resist at all. His knees went soft and he knelt on the ground. You dare to treat me like this? My master is the sword-serving sea monarch. My master will not let you go. You! Noisy! Chu Fengmian snorted and suppressed Hai Shirsi with his spiritual power, making him unable to open his mouth again. I still have some things to ask you. I will spare your life for now. Take! Chu Fengmian opened the Boundary Monarch's pouch and took Hai Shirsi into it, leaving him to be guarded by the immemorial centipede. As the dust settled, the odd ancient chamber of commerce, which had been incomparably lively just a moment ago, was now completely silent. The martial artists and Yao gods outside hurriedly retreated when they saw Chu Fengmian's gaze. They did not want to provoke a fiend like Chu Fengmian. Inside the Chigu Chamber of Commerce, the Princess of the Sea was fine, but the mystic young master was startled and only reacted after a while. May I know who Senior is? I was rude just now. This is not the place to talk. Let's talk somewhere else. Chu Fengmian glanced at the mystic young master and handed over a pill to him. Eat it and it will heal your injuries. My injuries are, the mystic young master hesitated for a moment, but still ate the pill that Chu Fengmian handed over. Suddenly, the pill turned into the sky-devouring secret technique. The cold poison in the mystic young master's body was swept away, causing his injuries to recover by more than half. Chapter 1887. The injury on Master Odyang's body wasn't caused by an attack, but by a kind of cold poison. After all, Master Odyang was a Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu. Ordinary injuries could be healed in an instant, but it was a kind of cold poison that was corroding his body. As soon as Chu Fengmian arrived at the odd ancient chamber of commerce, he could tell that Master Odyang's injuries were caused by a type of cold poison. Ordinary sacred medicines, sacred pills, and even ancient sacred pills might not be able to heal Master Odyang's injuries. However, Chu Fengmian had the bloodline of the heaven-devouring beast and mastered the heaven-devouring secret technique, which could devour everything. This little cold poison was naturally not worth mentioning in front of the heaven-devouring secret technique. The pill was formed by Chu Fengmian's heaven-devouring power. When Master Odyang swallowed it, the heaven-devouring secret technique would be activated in his body and devour the cold poison. Once the cold poison was removed, Master Odyang's injuries would quickly recover. Thank you, young master. Although Master Odyang didn't know Chu Fengmian's origin, he also addressed Chu Fengmian as young master when he saw how respectful the Princess of the Sea was to Chu Fengmian. Let's go. Let's talk somewhere else. Lonely Sea City was the territory of the Oceansward sect. Chu Fengmian had killed the disciples of the Oceansward sect, so the Oceansward sect would soon know about such a big matter. Staying in Lonely Sea City would also be troublesome. All right. Master Odyang waved his hand and took away all the treasures in the odd ancient chamber of commerce. Then, he followed Chu Fengmian and turned into a streak of light that flew out of Lonely Sea City. You want to leave after killing the people of the Oceansward sect? Whoosh! Just as Chu Fengmian's group was about to leave the Lonely Sea City, a streak of light suddenly burst forth from the center of the city. This streak of light was extremely fast and blocked Chu Fengmian's group's path in an instant. It's the Lonely Sea King, the City Lord of Lonely Sea City. This person is a half-step celestial realm expert and is extremely powerful. Let's run. When Master Jianwang saw this person, his face revealed a trace of panic. Although he was a peak figure of the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu, there was a huge difference between a half-step Emperor Gu and a half-step celestial realm expert. Why are you running? The corners of Chu Fengmian's mouth curled into a smile as he looked at the tranquil sea monarch and said coldly, "Scram! How dare you!" When the Sea King of the Quiet Sea arrived, he did not expect Chu Fengmian to be so arrogant in the face of a half-step celestial being like him. His tone showed that he did not put him in his eyes at all. Daring to kill a disciple of the Sea Sword sect, he is indeed a lawless person. Suppress him. The tranquil ocean Sea King let out a long roar as he abruptly unsheathed a spiritual sword from his hand. Aiming at Chu Fengmian, the tip of the sword slashed down with a loud bang. The Solitary Sea City was under the control of the Ocean's Word sect, and the Solitary Sea King was also an expert of the Ocean's Word sect. The power of this sword was far beyond Haishursi's, and it was able to faintly mobilize the power of the Solitary Sea. The power of the entire Silent Ocean was boundless. Even if this sword only contained a portion of the Silent Ocean's power, it was still extremely terrifying. The incomparably tyrannical sword edge was aimed straight at Chu Fengmian's chest. Primogenitor's second form. Sweep! Chu Fengmian roared as dragon power condensed in the palm of his hand. Suddenly, he struck out with his palm, which transformed into the claw of a war dragon and bombarded it. The boundless dragon power erupted and swept through everything as it fiercely bombarded the tranquil ocean Sea King's sword edge. Pfft! The tranquil ocean Sea King only felt that he was hit by an unbearable force the moment the two forces collided. He couldn't even hold the sword in his hand firmly, and he immediately retreated while spitting out a large mouthful of essence blood. After taking a deep look at Chu Fengmian, the tranquil ocean Sea King turned into a streak of light and fled into the distance without hesitation. The moment they exchanged blows, he realized how terrifying Chu Fengmian was and didn't dare to fight with him again. Chu Fengmian had no intention of chasing after the tranquil ocean Sea King. After forcing the tranquil ocean Sea King to retreat, he directly summoned the primordial centipede and rode it out of the solitary sea city with the princess of the sea, Mystic Yang, and the others. The solitary sea city was only a small part of the vast solitary sea. Once they entered the solitary sea, even the strongest experts would find it difficult to find traces of the primordial centipede. What is this person's strength? Why is the tranquil ocean Sea King no match for him? That's too terrifying. He defeated the tranquil ocean Sea King with one move? Could he be someone at the peak of the half-step celestial realm? An existence comparable to the ancestors of the major forces? I'm afraid the Sea Sword sect hasn't suffered such a huge loss in many years. Not only were their disciples killed, but even the tranquil ocean Sea King couldn't capture this person. Looking at the back of Chu Fengmian riding the primordial centipede, some of the tranquil ocean city's martial artists and Yao gods felt as if they had just woken up from a dream. It wasn't just these martial artists and Yao gods. Mystic Yang was still in a daze. He was still thinking about how Chu Fengmian had defeated the tranquil ocean Sea King with one move. In the vast sea star field, according to ancient traditions, only the half-step celestial realm members of the Sea Clan were qualified to be called Sea Kings. The tranquil ocean Sea King was a half-step celestial realm Yao god. Even if the tranquil ocean Sea King wasn't considered a powerhouse among the half-step celestial realm experts, he was still considered a veteran Sea King. The surrounding martial artists and Yao gods couldn't see Chu Fengmian's realm, but Mystic Yang, who was standing so close, could see that Chu Fengmian was only at the realm of the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu. Chu Fengmian's attack just now was enough to shock Mystic Yang when he defeated the Sea Sword sect disciples. Now that Chu Fengmian had defeated the tranquil ocean Sea King with one move, the shock he felt was 10 times greater than when he had been in the mysterious ancient chamber of commerce. He now knew why the princess of the sea was so respectful to Chu Fengmian. The journey was silent. Everyone was thinking about their own matters. Chu Fengmian was thinking about the Tranquil Ocean Sea King's sword move just now. That sword move had mobilized the power of the entire Tranquil Ocean. This kind of swordsmanship already vaguely had the shadow of an immoral technique. To be able to create this kind of swordsmanship, the Sea Sword sect either has more than one sword Dao totem, or their sword Dao totem is extremely ranked. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to create this kind of swordsmanship. Chu Fengmian thought to himself. There were a total of 19 sword Dao totems. The swordsmanship recorded in each totem was completely different. The higher the ranking of the sword Dao totem, the more swordsmanship recorded in it. The swordsmanship would also be more mysterious and closer to the origin of sword Dao. Chu Fengmian now had 3 sword Dao totems, which were ranked 3rd, 4th, and 19th. Judging from the swordsmanship created by the Sea Sword sect, it was likely that the Sea Sword sect's sword Dao totem wasn't the 1st, 2nd, or more than one. You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.